Hey gals and guys, this is Michael Ferrari of Cinema to Meep. Welcome to the 20th bonus Patreon episode. With me today is my pal, Ara Alishan. Welcome back, Ara.
Hey Meep, thanks for having me back, buddy.
Thank you for being here for number 20. And, of course, we're going to do another film series today. What do we choose?
Well, I am honored to announce, actually, that you accepted my offer to go to the prom tonight. And we're going to be talking about the Prom Night series.
That's right, the Prom Night series. I'm excited. What are you wearing to the prom tonight?
I have got one of those, like, T-shirts that looks like a tuxedo. And I wish I was that cool in high school. I was too boring. I wore an actual tux, but that'd be pretty sweet. If we were doing a retro movie love prom, I'd definitely rock that.
I'm wearing a blue suede tuxedo with big lapels
Oh, nice.
and a frilly shirt and bow tie. I feel very 70s. I feel like I think if I resemble any of the characters from these movies, I probably look a little bit like Slick from Prom Night 1.
Oh, dude, that's the best character to look like, man. That's the coolest guy in the series.
I wish I had my van, so I'd take it to the prom in my van.
No, that sounds great, buddy. You know, believe it or not, I actually did have a van in high school. It was a hand-down.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I had a used minivan, and my friends were nice enough to nickname it the Shaggin' Wagon. I wish it got as much action as they probably thought I did, but it was still great to have. And it actually was our limo for homecoming. I crammed a lot of people in there, but not for prom. For prom, we had an actual limo.
That's pretty awesome that you had that.
Yeah, no, it was a great car to have in high school. It really was, but it wasn't nearly as cool as Slick's. I mean, come on. I had like a '87 Plymouth Voyager or something like that.
I wish my prom experience was as memorable as yours, but we all had what a lot of people can relate to about these prom night movies is the experience of prom, whether you had a prom, memorable or not, or if you didn't have a prom, you live vicariously through the proms in some of these movies, and
sure.
It's it's a fun experience. It's like a rite of passage, of course, for a lot of kids, and part of why we landed on Prom Night as a subject for this month is because it's a traditional time of the year for proms in North America, and unfortunately, this year, as it turns out, 2020 is a year that not a lot of proms are being held.
Yeah, poor class of 2020.
Yeah, it's pretty much it's a bummer that that's the experience that a lot of the seniors and juniors of 2020 are having with their proms, but we thought we'd like to celebrate anyway and have prom night tonight here on the Retro Movie Love. So let's get to that soon. In the meantime, let's talk about our recently seen. What have you been watching lately other than some movies about proms?
Oh, sure. Well, actually, I'm happy to report that I watched something you recommended last time we recorded, and that is Scalpel from 1977. And I watched it. I was watching it by myself, and my wife came in about like 20 minutes into it and got like really sucked in and was asking me what was going on and ended up watching the movie with me. Nice. And we were both really into it and into all the twists and turns and, seeing certain characters get their comeuppance. And it was a great recommendation, man. I just wanted to let you know the Arrow Blu-ray is a nice addition to my collection, thanks to you.
Oh, I'm glad that has a new fan. That movie. It's a gem of a movie. It's a gem of a movie, especially if for those of you out there who like horror movies that have a bit of they're not as fast moving. It's not a slasher or anything. It's something that's it takes its time. it develops its characters and has a lot of atmosphere. I think that's the kind of movie that's just for you.
Yeah, it was great, and I really recommend it to anyone who might have been on the fence. It's a real fun movie. I've been watching some other stuff too. I'll just touch on quickly. I watched what was that movie called? The Last Seduction. The other day actually, and it wasn't quite as good as I remembered. A little bit of a, I don't know, a bummer of a movie, I guess. But Linda Fiorentino is, great always, and I've always had a huge crush on her actually. So I'll watch anything she's in, and it was good to see her and having such a fun, over the top performance and being like such a despicable character, not unlike the main character in Scalpel, as far as being manipulative and stuff like that. It's just, you kind of like to see people get their comeuppance, and it didn't really work out that way in that movie. And it was okay though. And then I watched Out of Sight from 1998. Which was something I wasn't expecting to like. I think I saw it at the time, but I found it actually pretty entertaining and charming. Same with Analyze This from 99. And these are all kinds of like a little bit unusual for me to be watching these kinds of movies. Most of them were with my wife, but I enjoyed it. I thought Analyze This was great. I'm a big Billy Crystal fan, so his humor kind of works for me. And then I think we messaged about this a little bit, but I rewatched 1408 from 2007.
That's right.
Which is a movie that, it's a Stephen King adaptation, and it's a movie that kind of came and went. Not a lot of fanfare. I saw it in theaters, I believe, but I don't think it really made an impression on me. But I think it's a great movie, having watched it again lately. Great movie to kind of watch late at night, in the comfort of your own home, maybe more than like in a movie theater. And there's things that I appreciate about it more now, like as a father, and just some of the trauma and stuff it kind of touches on, and different places it goes, and it's just a genuinely like kind of fun, creepy movie. And, I love a creepy hotel, in any movie, and this is a good one. And Samuel L. Jackson actually has a really cool, like, kind of supporting role in this movie. So I like his character. And of course, it's, starring John Cusack, who I don't know why. I'm kind of like a late career Cusack fan. I don't know why that is, but I feel like most of the movies of his that I like are like not from his prime. They're like, like The Ice Harvest and stuff like that. So
right.
I don't know why, but I think he's solid. So that's fun. And then some more kind of typical of me stuff that I watched on Blu-ray was I got a couple of new Blu-rays from Vinegar Syndrome. One was Pale Blood from 1990, which I loved. I thought it was great. Kind of a low-key, slow movie, not for everyone, I'm sure, but another fun, like, kind of nuts Wings Hauser performance. And just a really cool soundtrack. And you got Darcy DeMoss and a lot of beautiful women in there. It's just a really fun, kind of understated vampire movie.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. And, speaking of Wings Hauser, I also watched The Wind, which just came from Arrow from 1986. And that's a movie that I had on Blu-ray. I had on DVD before, but the DVD was almost unwatchable. The quality was so bad. It felt like not even VHS. I mean, it was like, a couple of generations VHS. I don't know. It's just really poor copy, but this was great. It was like watching it for the first time. Foster's great in it. It's just a really fun thriller. I love the setting. I'd I'd want to be there despite all the creepy wind and the psychopath on the loose. It's just gorgeous, Greek setting, and just a really cool movie. I definitely recommend that too. But like I said, I'm going to try to be quick with these, so I won't spend too much time on that. I also watched the McPherson tape. I was able to pick up a cool limited edition Blu-ray of that on Vinegar Syndrome. But that was actually released by AGFA, I believe. It was really cool found footage movie. I'm not a huge found footage guy, but there's a couple that just like hit the right spot for me, and this was definitely one of them. I had a lot of fun with it. It's it's a alien abduction found footage. From, I'm sure people have heard of it, but I guess it's was released in '89, but supposedly shot in '83. The actual events that it recorded, and it's just fun. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it a lot, and a lot more than I thought I would. And a lot of these movies, I think for me, I should add, like, the movies that I watch by myself, we're talking about like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. So there's like a certain kind of movie that like hits the right spot at those times. And, these are some of them for sure. Pale Blood, 1408, The Wind, the McPherson tape. I rewatched, this is my last recently seen actually. I rewatched The Immortalizer, which I have on DVD. I have the old DVD-R that was released from MGM. And this is a movie that I was actually like kind of telling everyone about when Get Out came out a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh, there's this movie, and there's this mad scientist kind of guy at a clinic, and he's swapping, old people's brains into young people's bodies. And I was kind of trying to make that comparison and like give it some attention and stuff. And it's getting a Blu-ray release from Vinegar Syndrome. So I was kind of on the fence since I hadn't seen it for a while. I was like, oh, should I get it? Is it worth the upgrade, or is it not like something I'm like crazy about? So I watched it, and it's really, it's a fun movie, but I will say I think this is something that maybe it's just as I'm getting older, I'm noticing there's a lot of movies that are kind of like low budget that I used to, I guess, be more forgiving of, like as far as special effects. And it's weird because like I love low budget movies, don't get me wrong, but like if you're gonna dress someone up like a zombie or a mutant or something like that, like I just, something about it, like it still has to look good to me. And like I want I want those really good practical effects and makeup and costume, whatever, even for like cheapy movies, which isn't really fair, but for whatever reason, that was the one thing that kind of bummed me out this time. Is there's a couple of like experiments gone wrong that are running around in this movie that their look and stuff just didn't hold up for me. It's like just people with like weird makeup on and making grunting sounds and stuff. You know exactly what I mean. Yeah. But it's still a recommendation for me if anyone hasn't seen it. So I'm sure I've watched a lot more, but I really don't want to talk about Trolls World Tour and anything.
Why
not? Yeah, oh my! Well, you know what? Actually, since I mentioned it, I can watch pretty much all these modern family movies. Like I can watch them with my family, and my daughter is into it, and I'm all for it. But for whatever reason, the first Trolls movie I saw with her and my wife in theaters, I just hated it. And this one we watched here at home, I paid $20 for it to do the early rental thing they're doing or whatever, and I hated it again. I don't know what it is about those Trolls movies, but like I have like I don't know. It's like brings out a visceral reaction from me. And my wife was trying to be like, oh, like you like this song, if they're playing like Ozzy or something. And I was like, no, not like this. Not like this. I don't. And I don't like, like I'm not into Justin Timberlake. I don't know half of this new pop stuff or whatever. And just, just wasn't for me. But have you had to watch that with your kids too?
Yeah. It's a bit of torture. What can I say?
I'm sorry for bringing it up even. That was a prom night foul right there.
Let's talk about something better. Let's talk about a movie we both saw, a new movie, the Valley Girl remake.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, actually, I forgot about that. So we went to the drive-in. We had to go out of LA County to go to the drive-in for Mother's Day. It was my surprise for my wife. It was the day before Mother's Day, actually, Saturday. And they advertised a double feature, because it's only 4 screens there, of Trolls World Tour and Valley Girl. And they switched them, I guess, at the last minutes to where Valley Girl was first. Because I thought we were just going to watch Trolls World Tour because, my wife and my daughter wanted to see it anyways. I was like, well, I'll just watch the baby and be, chilling in the back seat. It's fine. You guys have fun. But they switched them. So I was kind of bummed for, my daughter because that's what she wanted to see. But, it's for Mother's Day. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this won't be too bad for my wife at least. And she's never seen Valley Girl. She's never seen the original, which is something I need to fix. That's on me. So we watched the Valley Girl remake, and I sat in the back seat. I was taking care of the baby. I was looking over at the other screens. I could see Knives Out playing on one of them, and I think it was Bloodshot on the other one. So I was kind of more paying attention to those things and the baby and my phone. But from what I saw of the Valley Girl remake, it was pretty brutal, man. It was like, it felt like it was a movie made by people who had heard things about the 80s, maybe they bought some best of CDs and maybe seen some posters or maybe a couple of movies, but not Valley Girl. It was bad, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to, be too negative, but I feel like with some of these movies you're mentioning.
I think you're allowed to be negative about though. Let's spare the audience the expense of renting this movie and the 2 hours of watching this movie. I mean, avoid this movie if you can at all possible. The Valley Girl remake is the epitome of what is wrong with modern cinema, especially when you're trying to capture something that happened in the past. This is a time period. This is a period piece movie. You would never guess that while watching it, that this was supposed to be 1983.
Yeah, 83, exactly. Yeah.
It's literally set in 1983. All the songs are all over the place in terms of time period. Yep. There are different versions of the songs. The lead actors are singing.
Yeah, it's a musical.
They're singing the songs, these popular songs, badly too, and it's kind of what is happening? This is a musical where the lead actors can't sing. It's there's dancing that really poorly choreographed dancing. It's unrealistically set in the 80s. It doesn't seem like the 80s at all. The actors don't even look like nothing in this movie is done correctly, and clearly, they probably watched the original, but that was about as far as it went in terms of what they were trying to capture with the original movie.
Oh, dude, you're giving them more credit than I am. Even I don't even think they've seen the original.
It is a shocker of a movie. My wife wanted to hate watch it. This is okay, let's watch Valley Girl. We both love the original Valley Girl film. It's a movie we mutually bonded over when we started going out, and
sure.
And so let's hate watch this thing. We have the original poster. We watched this movie a lot, right? The original film.
Of course, yeah.
So we know we're not going to like this film, but we didn't realize how much we're going to hate this film. My wife literally started throwing things at the screen while watching this movie. She was throwing things at the screen. She was so upset. Audibly upset that she just we sat through it. We had to see how bad it was, and it really was not getting any better. It was getting worse and worse. And the butchering of all the songs that we love so much. Oh, man. Unforgivable. The acting was unforgivable. The story, everything about this movie was just pretty awful and not worth your money, certainly, and more importantly your time. So stay away from it.
I honestly didn't even know this movie existed. I'd never seen a trailer for it or anything until we got there, and it was like, oh, surprise, like you're watching this.
Yeah.
And there was other families that were kind of pissed about that too, and they ended up leaving. And I don't blame them, but I don't know. I mean, and I'm sad to say that was actually my first time going to a drive-in. I've been to like a lot of outside screenings and stuff like that, but I was so excited to actually be at a drive-in theater. And man, what a bummer.
Yeah, it was filmed in 2017, and then there was some controversy with like one of the stars of the movie, had made some outlandish comments or something, like got him in trouble. Like one of the YouTube, like it's like a YouTube personality in the movie, as a supporting character, and so they shelved it. But I think they shelved it not so much as the supporting player who got into trouble, so much as they watched the movie and like, whoa, this is terrible. Why are we even bothering this? Why we can't release this in theaters, right? Because it's terrible. So they sat on it. And now, of course, here we are, 2020, the pandemic. Movies have stopped, right? There's nothing new coming out theatrically for a while. Lots of movies have jumped ship. They're being released later in the year or next year, because they're hoping to make more money. Especially movies that are expected to make a lot of money worldwide, whatever. Mm-hmm. So there's a hole in the release date. What do we have? So they're like, MGM's like, oh yeah, we made this movie 3 years ago. Let's just throw this out there, and that's exactly what they did. And
that's hilarious. That makes sense.
It's I feel bad for Jessica Rothe, the lead actress in the movie, who's playing the Deborah Foreman role. Like she's adequate in the role. I'm not saying she's trying her best, but not quite a singer, not quite a dancer. So it's, when you're in a musical, you need to be proficient at both, or at least one of those things. And it's not her fault. I don't put any of the blame on her in this film and why it doesn't work. It's really the writing, of course, and the directing, which is really lackluster. And it's really an excuse. I've seen, remember those Gap commercials, those Fall Into the Gap commercials that were like, with all that choreography and dancing.
Sure,
and yeah, those commercials are better than this movie.
Oh, dude, you're not kidding. I actually just pulled it up on IMDb, because that was the reason I forgot to mention it in my recently seen, was I didn't pull it up on there in my history or whatever when we saw it, and the poster looks like it's like Photoshop, like college project Photoshop or something. Like it's just. Something about it just feels so amateur, and that's a shame. That's a shame for Valley Girl. Valley Girl is a classic. It deserves better.
Yeah, it's amateur hour. Unfortunately, released by MGM, has the Orion moniker on it. They slapped that on there, make it feel more retro, I guess.
Bummer, I didn't even notice. Yeah.
It's definitely not for fans of good films or any films. A good film that was released, just one of the guys, was finally released on Blu-ray in April. End of April. I got it in the beginning of May, and so I watched the hell out of it with the new commentary. So I'm so happy. Just one of the guys is now on Blu-ray. It looks great. Please buy that movie on Blu-ray. It's if you like 80s films, it's certainly a favorite in this house and will always be. And I think you'll get plenty entertained. It looks great on Blu-ray and has a really good commentary with the cast.
Very cool.
So check that out. I watch a lot of things. There were a lot of like family movie nights. Kids are home more and need to be entertained more. So lots of family movie nights. So we went through Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer, and the kids liked both of them. I think they liked Better Off Dead more. So sure. That's pretty cool. Singing in the Rain, they both like that one.
Cool.
So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh, nice.
We watched that. Not quite that appropriate for family movie night, but they were into it. Manhattan Project I watched with my son, and he was into that movie, as cool. He's kind of a science kid. We watched Case Busters together. That's a 1980, I want to say 86 Wes Craven TV movie he did for The Wonderful World of Disney.
Yeah. I watched that recently too. I forgot to mention it. It's on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, yep. I hadn't seen it since it came out, and I just kind of totally forgot it existed. And it's it's a very light and kind of frothy kind of thing. It's very frivolous, but
it's cool that it's Wes Craven, though, right?
Yeah, it's Wes Craven. It's like an hour long, so you don't need to you don't need to devote a lot of your time and energy to it. It just it's a pleasant little movie for the family. So
for sure.
And then we watched 2 John Hughes movies. Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Weird Science. And so between the two of them, my kids big thumbs up to Weird Science and thumbs down to Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Interesting.
Yeah, they got bored of Ferris Bueller's Day Off after a half hour in, which was like surprising. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. I guess, it's just didn't connect with them. But Weird Science, having watched both of them again, back to back, tell you that Weird Science is a very, very entertaining film.
Sure.
It never stops moving. It keeps moving fast. It's like 90 minutes long, but but it's really quickly paced. So it's a really wonderfully edited film. I think it just really moves, and that's part of why maybe it works for kids, because it just entertains them. There's a lot of jokes, and a lot of them landed pretty well. So
I could see that. Sure.
I'd say out of all the John Hughes movies, this is the one that I think held up the best in terms of looking at it through 2020's eyes. Even though politically some things are probably not going to connect with everyone out there. But I think you'll enjoy it. It's a really fun movie. Okay, we watched all those movies, and then I watched The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, the Metal Years, which I thought which was a lot of fun. Sometimes it's almost like a comfort watching that, throwing that on. I watched a weird little indie movie called The Crew from the 90s.
Oh, I haven't heard.
Yeah, it's a bunch of people in it, like Viggo Mortensen and Pamela Gidley and.
Cool.
And what's his name from Clueless and Hideaway? What's his name? That actor. Anyway, I'm blanking out his name for the moment, but yeah, it was an interesting little movie. We kind of were watching it to see where it was going. I had seen it, rented it in the 90s, and I just kind of totally forgot about it. And I was kind of curious to see where it was heading, and it goes in a direction I wasn't quite expecting, but. And then War Games was another family movie we watched.
Oh, sweet, yeah.
War Games went over pretty well. I think they liked that one, so that one holds up pretty nicely. We watched that Lovebirds thing on Netflix. Me and my wife, and it was fine. It was entertaining. Mm-hmm. I laughed a few times, so that's what you kind of want in a
sure.
a new movie, right? It was good, not great. Like I think most new movies, like either they're at least if they're not bad, they're like okay.
Yeah. Better or worse than Valley Girl? Would you say is like a?
Oh yeah. It's a much better film. So.
No, sure. A lot of these. Sorry, I was just gonna say a lot of these movies you're mentioning, they're like childhood favorites, but I haven't seen for years. It's making me want to revisit a bunch of those for sure to see how they hold up. But it sounds like your kids definitely are getting a good education.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely you have to break it up with a lot of the modern, like, Trolls kinds of movies. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, I can't do those all the time, so we have to watch, like, some classics. We have to watch some movies that I grew up with, and just to, like, see how they respond. And I think they're responding, for the most part, pretty well to those movies, which is great. And that speaks to those movies of the 80s. I think they're just better made, I'm sorry, than they are now. I watched Me, Natalie with Patty Duke. I enjoyed that film. It's a good New York movie. It was recently released from Kino Lorber. Oh, cool. I watched Pieces just because.
Why not, right?
Why not?
Bad time to watch Pieces.
I did a double feature of Alan Arkin movies. I watched Rafferty and the Goldust Twins and Choo Choo and the Philly Flash.
I don't think I've seen either of those.
So maybe not as fondly remembered movies. Between the two, I like Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins more.
Sure.
It's a good like road kind of movie where lots of wacky things happen. It's him. It's one of the daughters from One Day at a Time.
Oh,
and Sally Kellerman. They're like and they're wacky exploits.
Well, I love a good road movie. That's you got me there.
And then Choo Choo and the Philly Flash was him and Carol Burnett, and it was a weird pairing. It was a weird movie. It's like I don't know if I quite liked it, but it was nice. It was fun, just like having that double feature. And then I did a double feature of Charles Bronson movies. I watched The Mechanic and Mr. Majestic, and both very solid movies. I love both of those. And Charles Bronson's, it's always fun to watch in every way. And also released on Blu-ray All Night Long, the 1981 Gene Hackman film with Barbara Streisand in it. It's an odd movie. It's like a comedy about a guy who had a breakdown at work, and then he becomes the manager of an all-night like drugstore kind of thing. And then there's like this flirtation he has with Barbara Streisand, who's a married character, and he's married, and it kind of it becomes kind of crazy and wacky. There's a lot of like weird comedy in it that doesn't quite work, but I'm like fascinated by the movie because a lot of it takes place like in the middle of the night and in the drugstore and like and their blossoming relationship and all the marital stuff that happens and the zaniness that ensues.
Sounds good.
Good. I like it. It holds up nicely for me at least. And then two more on Blu-ray. Scream Factory released The Escape from L.A. on Blu-ray.
Yes.
Yeah, much treasured sequel to Escape from New York.
I just got mine in the mail today, actually. My pre-order finally came today.
The Blu-ray looks good in terms of presentation. I don't know about the extras, though. Got to be honest with you about these Scream Factory Blu-rays. They're really hit and miss with the extras.
Sure.
There's a lot of extras. I'm not complaining about the amount of special features, but I found myself bored while watching a lot of them. I don't know what happened, but I don't know. Just
there's
wasn't
there's no Kurt Russell, John Carpenter commentary on this one, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Maybe that's the problem. There's no input at all from.
They're pretty great usually.
Yeah, there's no input at all from John Carpenter on this disc or Kurt Russell. So that's your main star and your director in a sequel. I mean, you kind of want to hear from them, right? They, especially those two.
Yeah, that would have been fun. They
do so well together. And then I think, Kurt Russell had a big say in what went on in this movie. Mm-hmm. He was very invested in that character, so he had a story credit or whatever. You want to hear from those two, but nothing. There's nothing from them. There's nothing from Sandy King. I thought it would be something, just something from the Carpenter point of view, but nothing at all.
Sure.
So a lot of like the actors and some people who have pretty small roles in the movie have a featurette. And I'm like, okay. And then Bruce Campbell has a featurette, and it's like him over Skype.
Oh, no way!
Interesting. I was just a little bit bored by some of the special features, but I'm not complaining. I'm not gonna be whine about it. Just it is Escape from LA. I'm not expecting everyone to like give it their all.
Sure.
But, sure. I find it to be an entertaining movie, just a bit derivative of the original, of course. But that's,
it doesn't hold up to the original, of course, but I do defend that movie. I do think it's a lot of fun, honestly.
Yeah. And then the final one, it was Idle Hands on Blu-ray.
How did that hold up?
Which I have to say is a wonderful movie from the late 90s. I'm a fan of this movie. I don't know if I appreciated it as much in the late 90s. I know I enjoyed it, but I just kind of forgot about it over the years. And then revisiting it, and I'm like, I was really into this movie. I think it's really well done. Rodman Flunder directed it. I think he's a really solid director. I think he doesn't get enough credit. And I think he went out his way here to make a really fun movie, a silly movie, of course, about teenagers. It's a very late '90s teenager movie, but in a good way. It's mixed well with the horror elements of this movie. It's a lot of blood and guts, and so mix that with silly teen antics of the late '90s, and like throw in some like boobs and all that stuff. It's a fun 90 minutes. I think it's like a perfect 90 minutes horror comedy. So I think it really works for me, and I think the Blu-ray is good. It has good extra features on it. It has it ported over the commentary, which I think was really good because I was listening to the director talk about the movie, and he has a genuine love for genre movies, as you can tell.
Very cool.
Like he's name checking lots of great movies that were that inspired him, like Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, like things that are like not as common.
Sure, yeah.
Like, he has a real love for the genre, and that really comes across. And even in a silly studio late '90s movie, I think it shines through and what he was trying to accomplish, and within the parameter of a studio movie and what they were trying to do back then. And I think it's a movie you should really give it another chance. Check out the Blu-ray if you haven't seen it in a while. And enjoy it. I would find it highly enjoyable.
That's very cool to hear. I mean, I was the right age for that movie when it came out, and I really liked it then. I did get the Blu-ray from Umbrella, I want to say, a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And I know I watched it again, but I don't remember much. Like, I don't know if maybe I watched it too late at night or something. I got to watch it again, but I'm happy to hear that you had so much fun with it. That makes me optimistic that, it holds up and it's good and it's entertaining. And I'm sure Jessica Alba is as beautiful as I remember. And everything else is, I think some of those gags are really solid from what I remember. And like a little bit of like American Werewolf in London vibes with the zombified friends. And
it's definitely a stoner movie too. So it's
for sure, totally.
Yeah, you gotta give it that. If you're into those kinds of movies, I think it has that vibe, but I think it pulls off that pretty well.
I'm a Scream Factory supporter. Like I buy like a lot of their Blu-rays and stuff, but I'll be honest, this is one of the ones where I kind of was like, I'm not someone that complains too much about this stuff, but like I just wasn't a fan of the commissioned artwork for it, and I was like, maybe I'll get it later. Otherwise, I would have picked it up for sure by now.
Yeah, this is the one I'll go to bat for with their releases.
No, but it's I remember it being a fun movie for sure, so I definitely want to watch it again. And it's a Halloween movie, right? It's set around Halloween.
Yeah, it's a Halloween movie too. So it has a lot of elements that I like all in one movie and mashed together.
No, I'm not saying always looking for more stuff to watch around Halloween. I love it. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I feel like it needs another like audience, a cult audience. I feel like more people would appreciate what it was trying to do back then.
Yeah. Well, maybe this Blu-ray will, bring it to more the public eye a little bit more.
Cool. And if you ever wanted to see a couple dressed in Kiss makeup, making out and boobs involved in that scene, this is your movie.
I don't remember that, but that sounds awesome.
It's very memorable while watching it for me this time.
Dude, that's great.
All right, that's our recently seen. Let's get into the prom night movies as we know them.
Yes.
Here is the first one. Here's a TV spot for Prom Night.
These are the girls of Hamilton High. Tonight they'll be more beautiful than ever before in their lives. Because tonight is prom night. And someone will come to the prom alone just to watch them dance, to see them fall in love, to see them die. Prom night. If you're not back by midnight, you won't be coming home. Rated R.
Starts Friday at a theater or drive-in near you. Check your newspaper for showtime.
Prom Night, 1980. All right, 4 Hamilton High seniors are hiding a terrible secret. What happened to Robin Hammond 6 years ago was a game that turned into horrible tragedy, and someone saw what they did. Someone waiting for gruesome revenge. Wearing a black hood and wielding an axe, a killer brutally slaughters the teenagers one by one at their high school prom. As the spotlight falls on the newly crowned prom king and queen, the psychopath will show everyone his new favorite game to play. Are you ready for a bloody night of disco madness? Okay, that's the synopsis from Prom Night, courtesy of the Synapse Blu-ray, and courtesy of our Alishan for sending me these synopses. I first saw Prom Night in the theater.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was a kid watching slasher movies in the early 80s, and I'm not sure how much it affected me in the theater. I saw it at the Low State Theater in Times Square, where I saw a lot of movies, and I remember thinking it was I think I liked watching these movies as a kid, but it didn't really have an effect on me until I watched it on video. I think when I watched it on the MCA video cassette. I think that's where a lot of these slasher movies really started to gel with me, is when I watched them at home. And this one in particular really did something to me as a kid. I really bonded with this movie really closely. I've talked about this movie probably before on the podcast, so I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it, but I don't know. I just watched it a lot of all the early 80s slasher movies. I'd watch it over and over and over and never get bored of it. And I have a feeling this is a movie that divides horror fans. I think some people love it. I think it's up there with a lot of the classics of that time period for slasher movies. And I've heard other things from horror fans where they found it a bit boring, or just kind of plods along a little bit. And I can see their points, and I can totally get that. I totally know where you're coming from with some of that, because the pacing is very 1980. It's very of that time. It's not some of the more fast-moving slasher movies of the 80s where it was kind of just off and running. This one takes its time. And this is exactly why I love this movie, because it takes a lot of time with its characters. And that's probably exactly what critics at the time complained about, that the characters weren't developed. This is why I love this movie, because I think, to me, the characters are developed.
Sure, yeah.
I love watching these characters. Kim and Alex and Nick and Wendy, Jude, Kelly, and then even Slick and the creepy janitor Sykes and even the parents. Everyone gets a chance to shine in this movie. Lou.
Yeah.
Everyone has a moment in this movie, and I think the movie really kind of affords the characters to have their little moments, and that's what I love about it. So I get caught up in this movie every time I watch it with the characters, and I think they're just likable. They're like people that felt, like teenagers at the time. They didn't feel like, they were probably older, some of them, and they're probably a little bit too old to play teenagers, but I don't know. They kind of inhabited their roles really well, and
sure,
and I enjoyed that about it. I just like that it really devotes a lot of the time to prom in this movie. Once it hits the 50-minute mark of this movie, it is prom, and it's prom to the end of the movie.
Sure,
and that's kind of what I want in a movie that's called Prom Night. It has to be about the prom. So there's lots of attention to the details of what the prom looks like, the lighted dance floor, which of course was inspired by Saturday Night Fever. This movie is kind of a mix of what was popular at the time, and they kind of threw this in here. So you'll see nods to Halloween, but not so much Halloween. You'll see Carrie. You'll see Saturday Night Fever. You'll see a lot of elements of those movies kind of thrown in here. Maybe a little bit of Grease.
Sure.
But very Canadian.
Yes, definitely.
And it's not in the Canadianness of this movie, maybe in the look of the movie and how kind of the soft, filtery look of it kind of really highlights its Canadianness, and some of the actors probably feel pretty Canadian. Certainly that dance, when the dancing comes into play, you'll see some really stiff Canadian dancing. No insult to my Canadian listeners. I love you all. But yeah, some pretty white dancing going on in there. And I think I just watch it sometimes for that, just to watch those background people dance. I think it's kind of funny. I love all the outfits in the movie. I think Jamie Lee Curtis looks great in this movie.
Oh yeah.
I think she looks of those movies of the time period. I think she looks pretty good. And I love I like the janitor character a lot. Sykes. Robert Silverman, who's like in a bunch of David Cronenberg movies. He plays the janitor, and of course, the janitor is the red herring, or one of few red herrings in this movie.
Sure.
And I just like how he says, "There's a killer loose."
Yeah.
I love that. There's so many details in this movie that really make me happy, and like just stuff like that. Lou being this creepy unibrow character that's obviously modeled on John Travolta and Carrie, and of course Wendy's character is probably modeled, and I know for a fact they are modeled on Karen Allen and John Travolta in those movies.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally.
Because that was popular, and of course, if you're doing a movie about prom, you can't ignore that the prom movie at that time was of course Carrie, and I don't know, I like that. There's also a red herring with the burn victim, who was thought to be the perpetrator of Robin's death, and Robin is the sister of Kim and Alex. I think it's Alex's twin sister. And she dies after this prank gone wrong. And then, of course, this burn victim who gets burned up after a confrontation with the police. He escapes, and of course, he's. I think they also think he raped Robin. Actually, there was a little detail that I noticed on a recent viewing of this movie. I'm like, I don't remember that so much, but yeah, it's weird. They kind of throw that in there. So this guy's got wrongly accused of many things, and yeah. If he was if he wasn't the red herring and he was the perpetrator, he has a pretty good reason. Sure. It's having Jamie Lee Curtis in the slasher movies of the early '80s just always makes me happy, because she was the scream queen, of course, that we all know and love, and she may not be the biggest fan of Prom Night, but certainly. Certainly, a lot of us kids who grew up watching these movies are, and we don't mind. I have more to say, but I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on Prom Night.
Oh, sure. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, Jamie Lee Curtis just added a level of prestige to all these movies. I feel like that she appeared in, from that era, is like if it was one with her in it, then it was important. At least to me when I was a kid, that's kind of how I saw it. This is one of the good ones. So I didn't really know that there was this dissension until I got older and noticed that, there's a lot of negative comments or whatever whenever, Prom Night's brought up. To me, it's just one of the classics and always has been. And I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. And I don't know what it is about Jamie Lee in this movie. I think she's like she's a beautiful woman, but she's not like one of my childhood crushes necessarily. But in this movie, I always thought she's like really pretty. I don't know how to say it, but something about her, maybe like she's a little more confident, and just I don't know, something about her is really charming in this movie. But I do feel like I think she was only like 21 or 22, but for whatever reason, she feels like much older in this one. Like maybe just because we've seen her play a high school student when she was like 4 years younger or whatever it would have been, when they filmed the original Halloween. So I think for whatever reason, she just feels like a little bit more mature than maybe the other high school kids, even like her co-stars. But she's still great, and I love her, and I love that there's a slasher movie out there that she dances in. I mean, because she's a great dancer. And I mean, she's got to show that off in other roles, but this is a slasher, so it's pretty cool that she got to do that. And it's it's so disco. I can't think of like a more disco movie off the top of my head, like to where even the killer's ski mask is like glittery, like his mask that he's wearing. And that's something I probably didn't notice before watching it in HD. But it's it's really like this sparkly mask he's wearing, and it's awesome. Like everything about this movie I think is just so much fun. I love that there's this high school like overlooking these bluffs, and I love like the idea of playing that creepy game as a kid, running around that I guess it was like an old school or something, it looked like, if I'm remembering right. And I mean that was the kind of stuff I actually did when I was young too, but I mean not to that extent, obviously. But yeah, I mean we'd play some pretty fun, like crazy variations of hide and seek too. I don't know if my brother's gonna listen to this, but him, being like 7 years older than me, and his buddies, they would terrorize me and my friends a lot of times. And we had a game called Daddy Freddy, actually. And it was very similar to that, what they were playing there, but there was a lot more punching and stuff involved. But yeah, those are the fun things we remember as younger brothers later. But yeah, I mean, I just, everything about it, just from the way it starts out to that childhood trauma, and just the way that it's shot, I love it. And the music is great. The music, of course, by Paul Zaza. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I saw his name pop up on a few other credits too while we were watching this series.
Yes, he does all of them. Yeah,
that's awesome, which is very cool because they're all so different. I mean, this one's so disco, and then they go to completely different eras and different kind of music. But I think it's great. And this movie has Wendy, Richards, one of the best, I think, like kind of, for lack of a better term, like bitchy slasher characters. I thought she was awesome. I always have. I love her character.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Lou is a good kind of, like you said, like a Billy Nolan, Buddy Repperton kind of knockoff guy.
Totally.
I don't know how to describe him. Just that unibrow, though, it's so like prominent, and it's really adds to that character.
Yeah.
And I love the pairing of him and Wendy, like just her disgust of having to put up with him, to serve her purpose. And there's even the supporting characters, and even though they did something despicable, most of them you feel sympathetic for.
Mm-hmm.
Years later, as teenagers, like Kelly, I felt really sympathetic for. I thought that that was kind of sad. What happened to her and how that went out, how that played out, I should say. She kind of fit the more traditional, like, final girl mold. In some ways, is like this innocent.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of, it's just, I don't want to say it was mean spirited, but you did feel bad for her. The way that I guess things played out with her date, and then what happened right afterwards. Gosh, I mean, we mentioned this at the beginning, but I really love Slick. I wrote down his full name just to give him proper credit: Seymour Slick Crane. And he, I wrote down Slick was an innocent bystander, you murderous son of a bitch, because he had nothing to do with what happened, and he should have survived.
Totally.
And he is just such a fun character. I mean, I told you I had a van. I can't remember if it was an 87 or 89 Plymouth Voyager. And I love that I got to have a van, but watching this just makes me realize, like, how much cooler I could have made my van. And I mean, forget the van aside was great, but the fact that he like stashed his joints in like a hollowed out like history book, and what a great character. Just fun performance. I don't know, just something really memorable about that guy. And I love the fact that he was confident enough to just kind of drive by and, pick up a date for the prom on the day of the prom. Like, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, God, we can't talk about Prom Night without talking about one of my favorite slasher movie chases, too, with Wendy. I thought that was fantastic. And
Oh yeah.
I've always remembered it being good, but then, sometimes you watch a movie again after a few years and you've seen so many other slashes in between and stuff. Maybe it's not as good as you remember, but no, that's one of the best ones, I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that it's not, it's not the final girl. It's not even really like a heroic character or a, sympathetic character. It's the bitch, for lack of a better term. But you're pulling for her. I mean, she's doing such a great job hiding and getting away, and you really want her to make it. And I was so into it. It just felt really suspenseful, every time I've watched it, and this time was no exception. I will say one thing I kind of had a change of heart about this time, was the character of Nick. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like Nick, and it's not just because he's not a great dancer.
He's not.
He is just kind of like, it's just pretty fucked up if you think about it, for lack of a better term. Like, he's obviously, like, he's remorseful, he feels really guilty, but he's he was really responsible for this girl's sister's death and covering it up. And now he's like dating her and sleeping with her and who knows what, and that just feels like so. The kids would say shady, I guess, right? I don't know. I can't think of the right. I want to say like reprehensible. I don't know. It just bothered me this time. It kind of clicked. Where I was like, wait, this guy is like, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too much thought, but I just kind of didn't like him this time. And
he gets off a little too easily in my eyes. Yeah.
He did. Jamie Lee saved him. She kind of came in and kicked ass, and he was gonna get it for sure.
Yeah.
But the ending of this movie is great. I gotta say, it's it really carries like some emotional weight, and I'm sure everyone's seen it, but just the reveal and everything is just so good. Have you? I might be late to the party here, but have you seen the deleted scenes?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah.
This was my first time I actually bothered watching them, and they were really fun.
I like the deleted scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind them back in the movie. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I kind of wish there was another edit, like with Halloween and a lot of these other slashes we've got, because I thought that they really added to it. I thought Leslie Nielsen got to shine more and kind of be set up as a red herring too, almost. Yep. Yeah, which was really cool. And my favorite part of the deleted scenes was the addition of the secretary, Adele Cooper. Yeah. Which I thought she was a really fun character.
Yeah.
And it's cool that like she's you can spot her at the prom. I went back and checked after watching those scenes, and you can spot her there. I think just for a split second, but you'd have no idea who she is unless you've seen those scenes. So she's just a really fun character, and I think all of those scenes, I want to say there's like at least 5 of them on the Blu-ray and I thought all of them should have just been in the movie, which is rare.
That's kind of rare, yeah. Usually deleted scenes are deleted for a reason, and I feel like they would have fit fine in there.
Yeah. So a big thumbs up for me. This is still one of my favorite slashers from that golden age.
Yeah.
And I'm always a little bit surprised with how much I like it.
It just every time I watch it, it holds up really well. My sister and I watched this movie so much in video. Like, we wore out our MCA video cassette, and just from watching it so much, I think eventually I got the Virgin one too. So I had two different versions of this movie on a VHS, and
I had cool VHS covers too, actually. So I can totally see that.
I mean, I love the original artwork. I think it's really cool. I think it really kind of just having that masked presence and the eyes, and I thought it's really interesting. And I have the actually original poster as well. I think
very cool.
I think it's a really cool looking poster, and but I don't mind that Virgin poster with her with the axe and making her look guilty. I don't know. It's strange.
It's very misleading, but I think it's a nice piece of art.
Yeah, I don't mind it, and I think it's a good something alternative. I almost wish the Blu-ray had like reversible. Like, I like the Synapse Blu-ray. I don't know, for some reason though. Like, I feel like because this movie is such a classic in my head that I feel like it needs an even better edition.
Well, so this is I'm weird, but I have the Synapse release. I have a German release. and I have the 101 Films release.
Oh my gosh!
And I don't know why. I actually just recently got the 101 release.
You have like,
and
you
the
have
special
ultimate...
features, I'll say, like when you watch the special feature, it'll say courtesy of Synapse. And I'm like, what am I doing? But I just am so into the movie that maybe I'm just looking for that, worthy release that, like you mentioned, that just feels worthy of Prom Night. But it's this is probably what we're gonna get.
Yeah. No, it's a good documentary or whatever it is, like a behind the scenes look at it with the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of want, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
something else maybe. I don't know. There could always be another edition of it. So.
Yeah, maybe something, because the sequels, which we haven't gone to yet, haven't gotten released, but maybe we'll get a box set or something. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be amazing. Arrow, hello, do it.
Yeah, Arrow would be
we love you.
Dream come true for sure.
Or Vinegar Syndrome, one of you two.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many elements in this movie, like little details, and like there's a wedding ring on Kim's finger visible at the end of the movie. I don't know what that is. Like,
oh, really?
Is there like a scene where like he like where Nick proposes to her? I don't know.
Oh.
There, it's a pretty tragic ending. I mean, this is like, it goes to the Greek tragedy, like it goes to there.
Does.
Yeah, where she lands the blow on the killer, the fatal blow to the killer, and then the reveal of who it is. Like, it holds a lot of dramatic weight, and of course, then segues to that song, which is it just brings out the drama of that scene really well.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect way to end that movie. Just so many things in that, and like little things like that. It was originally, it was director Paul Lynch's concept. Like he had this idea of doing a slasher movie about a killer doctor.
Uh-huh.
And like, because everyone's trying to do their new Halloween, right?
Yeah.
So big, and he's like, how about a killer doctor? Do you pitch that one? And the producer is like, no, I don't like that. And then how about prom? Because he saw like a billboard for like a prom gear, prom wear. And so funny enough, he took that concept and had a writer like polish it up.
Nice.
And it was Robert Gooser Jr., who was the writer who polished that idea up and shaped into a story outline. And that writer went on to do Curtains.
Oh, interesting.
For the same producer. So yeah, he took that outline, and then William Gray eventually wrote the final draft of the movie. And William Gray wrote The Changeling, had recently wrote The Changeling, which is a great horror movie. And then he went on to write Humongous, which Paul Lynch directed.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Humongous, maybe?
I actually am. I've always been a fan of Humongous. Another one of those movies that divides people. Yeah. I think people do not appreciate that movie on VHS because of the really poor transfer.
Yeah.
For that really long time, it was hard to watch that movie on VHS. Dark, but for some reason, even though it was a dark transfer, I just loved the atmosphere of that movie. It's not an outstanding movie, like in terms of story or even acting or anything, but I think something about the vibe of that movie and its Canadianness kind of gels with me, and I love. And so seeing it on Blu-ray, and then you can see more of the action, I think you can appreciate some of the technical skill in that movie a little bit more. But I happen to really enjoy that movie personally.
That's actually makes me want to watch it again, because I was never too big a fan of it, and I think kind of like what I mentioned before with when you have a creature in a movie, like I want the makeup to be good, like I want it to be scary, I remember it being really bad.
Oh yeah, it is.
and like if it was just a guy in a mask or something, like I think I would probably love that movie. It's just for whatever reason I kind of become like not even special effects, but like I guess a makeup snob with some things sometimes. And it's just I don't know what it is that it's kind of like maybe it's just a phase I'm going through, but I feel like the last time I watched it, that really like kind of took me out of it. But I want to give it another shot for sure, especially after watching this. I did want to mention actually There was a movie that Paul Lynch did, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was him. I should have double checked before we started recording. He did a movie from my childhood called Bullies.
Yes.
Which I remember loving.
I know that one really well.
I had a huge, well, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who had a huge crush on her.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I don't even know how to say it, but like, I just, I mean, from Conan, I guess is where it started, but I had like a huge crush on Olivia Diabo, and I just remember like that movie, like I remember that VHS tape, like I can feel it in my hands, but I haven't seen it probably for like 20 years or something. I don't know if it's ever been released on disc.
No, I don't think it was. I mean, I certainly don't have it. I had it on VHS. My grandmother was a big fan of Bullies.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I watched it a lot as a kid. So I know it really well in my head. And since I didn't mind too much because I was like into Olivia Diabo, so I'm like, okay, I'll watch this anytime.
For sure.
Paul Lynch did 2 movies with her actually.
Oh,
He did another movie called Flying. It has 2 titles. Flying is one of them. It was also from the 80s, like 80. I want to say 86, 87. So right around Bullies. He did 2 movies with her, maybe back to back, and I think it was on video on my video store is Dream to Believe, I think.
Interesting.
It's like a kind of like a dance kind of thing, gymnastics or dance, and she's the lead. It was not a horror movie, but and also, but notable to mention because Keanu is her boyfriend in the movie. So.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Maybe both of those will see the light of day one day. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think a lot of these Canadian tax shelter movies really need to be available. I think they're very enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, even if they're ripoffs of like whatever was popular at the time. Like obviously Prom Night was made to cash in on Halloween, and other movies were made to cash in on like Friday the 13th, and like even Dream to Believe and Flying were made to catch in on those things, and Heavenly Bodies was made to catch in on Flashdance. Like all those Canadian talk shop dollar movies, just to me are like just pure entertainments.
Is Bullies? Am I remembering right that it was like a little bit like New Kids? I don't know what was first, but
yeah, New Kids was first. It was definitely a thing going on in the mid '80s of like those kind of bullying and gangs and like those kinds of movies like were definitely a thing in the culture, and Bullies was like definitely the Canadian version of that.
That's awesome. No, I could totally picture like Vinegar Syndrome or something putting that out one day, maybe. Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see.
Yes, please. I'm definitely a fan. Yeah, we mentioned, of course, Wendy. I think Anne Marie Martin, aka Betty Benton, who she was known as at the time. Was really good in that movie. I think she's a really standout actor in the film, and gives a really good performance as
she's great
as Wendy. And she was good in The Boogans, where she plays a less bitchy character. Did you know that she had a bit scene in Halloween 2 as Nurse Karen's friend? She's kind of like blink and you missed it.
Oh, I read that somewhere. Like she's supposed to give her a ride or something, right? I
Yeah.
have to watch it again. I think I read that somewhere actually in preparing for the podcast, but I totally forgot. Yeah, I want to pop that in and look for her actually.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's a little bit of a trivia. Another trivia is Paul Lynch originally wanted Eve Plum from the Brady Bunch to play Kim.
Interesting.
I think he ended up with the right person, Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm not sure we would be talking about Prom Night as much with Eve Plum in the role. I'm just going to throw that out there and say, as much as I love the Brady Bunch, as much as I love Jan, I'm not sure.
Oh man, I can't even picture it.
I can't picture it either, honestly.
Honestly, like I wonder sometimes if we're judging this movie, like if it didn't have Jamie Lee, would we hold it at to the same level? So
yeah, I mean, honestly, it's hard to say. I mean, I
really
probably not. No, probably not. No. But I think, her performance, especially later in the film when it's more of a tragedy, it kind of brings it all together, and I think it has a lot of weight, and that's probably why I related to it. Also, another reason,
with that ending.
you get a good performance and someone you like, and and because it was a brother and sister movie, that's why me and my sister watched it so much.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
I don't know what that says about us, but that's the way it went.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Apologies in advance for front-loading Prom Night 1 and 2. We're going to talk about those more, but that's just how it's going to go in this podcast, guys.
Yeah, it can be expected, I'm sure.
But yeah, Wendy, and I like those little moments where she's like so mean to her mom. I think that's so amazing.
It's like her housekeeper or something, isn't it?
I thought it was her mom, actually.
Oh, that's like a whole other level if it is. For some reason in my mind it was just like she's got like a maid or something. But yeah, that's even better.
It's just so bitchy to her. Like, my God.
Oh, man.
So good. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
I love that.
She's great. She really is like one of the most memorable characters from that era, I gotta say. She really stands out, and that's the golden age. So if you're one of the, Mount Rushmore from the golden ages, that's pretty high praise.
Another bit of trivia: the songs of the prom were actually disco hits at the time, and so they actually played whatever popular songs were disco songs at the actual prom, and then Paul Zaza wrote songs to kind of fit those scenes. So they were close to the actual songs that actually played. So that's why the songs are maybe good, because they actually were written to sound like more popular, well-known songs.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't say. And I was reading a book on Canadian horror films or exploitation films called "They Came From Within." It's a really good book. It didn't say exactly what songs Paul Zaza had to write to write around, but I could kind of use your imagination figuring it out watching this. But I do like all the songs Paul Zaza did in this film. I think they're really entertaining. So and you'll definitely hear them already, and you'll hear them more again in this podcast. So. All right, so that's Prom Night 1980. Let's get into it. Here is the next one. Here's a TV spot.
Hi, Mary Lou speaking. Sorry I can't come to the phone right now. But I'm busy at the prom. Places to go. Bye-bye.
Hello, Mary Lou. Prom Night 2.
Starts Friday, October 9th at a Famous Players Theater near you. Check local listings.
All right, so that was the TV spot for Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 from 1987. And here is the VHS description from Virgin Vision. You can't keep a bad girl down. Beautiful and innocent Vicky Carpenter seems a shoo-in for prom queen. But Mary Lou Mahoney, dead for 30 years, also wants the crown and returns from the grave to possess Vicky's body. After tormenting and brutally butchering Vicky's friends, Mary Lou successfully transports panic-stricken Vicky into a hellish purgatory. With the competition out of the way, hell-bent and armed with deadly powers, Mary Lou's got places to go, people to kill, and a crown to win. And this is a very interesting sequel to Prom Night in that it's unrelated. It is there's some common threads that carry over, but you can tell just from that plot description. I mean, this is a different movie. I didn't really recognize any of the cast and crew, to be honest, other than Michael Ironside. So I was looking some of them up while watching this, and I did notice a fun common thread that I wasn't aware of before this viewing, which was there's an actor who appears in all 4 movies. Did you catch that, Meep?
Yeah.
It's Brock Simpson.
Yeah.
Is his name. and he was the I guess the young Nick for the original Prom Night at the beginning. And he's got, a kind of a small role here, and appears in some of the other ones too, which we can get to. But I thought that was a really fun kind of common thread. And then, of course, we mentioned Paul Zaza, and of course the setting. They are all set in Hamilton High. So it's this is an interesting movie. Again, it's very different. It's a little bit more of a, I guess, like a Carrie knockoff. But it's different for sure. Like, this is not, like the poor wallflower that got picked on and, kind of turned on everyone at the end, to get her vengeance. Like, this is a really wild, kind of crazy, femme fatale kind of character who...
Yeah, she establishes that pretty early with the confessional scene.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's a really good character. Like, she's a fun, memorable character, Mary Lou. And I think that there's something to be said about when an actor has to kind of, be possessed by someone, another character from a movie, like how they act and how they, whether they're able to kind of pull that off. And I think that's done really well here. Just from what we see of Mary Lou, and then how we see her possess, Vicky. I think that's like really solid, and I think the performance is really good. She just transforms into a completely different character when possessed, and it's really seamless. It's really well done. And it's, this movie, I think, has kind of become like the dark horse favorite, maybe, like the cult favorite of for a lot of people. I feel like it gets a lot of praise, and I can definitely see why. I don't know if we're gonna get into which, what our favorites are of the series or whatever. Like, this was never, my personal favorite. But every time I watch it, I definitely like appreciate it and how crazy it is, and just the places they go. And I don't mean like literally, I just mean like the kind of taboo stuff that happens, and weird, crazy stuff that happens, and the way certain characters are killed, and I don't know. It's pretty brutal, but it keeps a light enough tone to make it, a fun viewing experience. It's gosh, yeah, I don't know. I have like kind of conflicting feelings about it, because I love like a good change of pace. Like, I don't know how you could even do a sequel to the original Prom Night, really. Because that ending, I mean, it was so definitive, but it was perfect, And so, if they're going to keep the series going, this is kind of, I guess, close to what, John Carpenter wanted to do with Halloween at one point. Let's make these different movies set at prom, or set at Halloween. Right. And in that sense, like, I'm...
Hello?
Yeah.
You dropped out for a second, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I mean, it's not like the Halloween 3 of the series. I feel like it's kind of maybe loved the same way in some ways, but it's pretty cool in its own right for what it is, and I understand why people like it so much. The one thing that's always stuck with me about this movie is that damn rocking horse. It's just really creepy. And I, watching it this time too, like I did actually, I wrote down in my notes, maybe you can help me figure this one out, but why did she go after Father Cooper again, the priest who was her boyfriend before? I wasn't sure what he did to wrong her. Maybe he didn't put her out when she was on fire.
Maybe that. I assume that was. I don't know. nobody helped her, so I'm assuming that was it.
Yeah, like it just kind of. I think I've seen this movie, quite a few times. I'm sure over the years, but I just for whatever reason this time I was like, wait, why did she kill him again? It's not something you really ask like when you're watching these kinds of movies, but for whatever reason that popped in my head. I did spot something that we brought up, I think, when we were doing the Final Destination movies, and that was the horror icon last names. The Carpenter, Craven, Henenlotter. Henenlotter's a good... that's not one you'd expect.
That's true.
O'Bannon. I might be missing some, but I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a King and a Romero.
Oh, nice.
There was a Buddy Cooper, which is I don't know what, that was pretty obscure.
Sure.
I don't know if that was there was also Dante too in there.
Right. No, that makes sense. And
Eddie Wood.
Oh, there is a Wood. That's right. Yep. And that's one thing that I hate actually is when I think I catch something really clever and then I look it up the IMDb trivia later and I see that's already in there. So that was one of those things. But I thought it was really cool. And there was some really nice touches. Like I liked the answering machine greeting, and like her like communicating through the computer at the end, and like some of that stuff was really cool. I did think there was a like kind of like a bitchy character in this one too that didn't get as much time to shine. I think her name was Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly Henenlotter.
Oh, right. That's Henenlotter, right? And then, she even... Well, I won't say what she did, but it's pretty funny to try to win Prom Queen. And then I thought her death was, like, a little bit underwhelming compared to, like, everyone else, especially because she was kind of set up as, like, a rival. And, she just kind of dies, like, I don't know. It's if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But I don't know. Another memorable thing about this movie, two things, I guess, to me. The one is the rocking horse. Well, three things. The second one is probably the death in the locker, where a character is like squished with telekinesis while hiding in a locker. That's kind of stuck with me throughout the years. And then the other thing that I do think is really good, even though I could kind of see the mask now, is when Mary Lou comes out of Vicky's body on stage. That's like pretty freaky.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that like kind of stuck with me over the years. I don't know what it was this time. I was just watching, the old MGM DVD, but it was pretty good quality compared to the last two Prom Night movies, the quality of those DVDs. But I don't know what it was this time. Like I could just see like the mask hanging off her face. And it was one of those things where it's like, as these movies get better transfers and stuff, you just gotta, you got to be okay with that. And I am for the most part. There's plenty that I could think of off the top of my head where the special effects are a little bit more apparent watching them now. But I still think that's a really effective scene. And I think that she has a really good look. And there's like a fun little twist ending, I guess. It's kind of weird. But I don't know. It's interesting actually, because if it wasn't for that twist, then where was the revenge on Michael Ironside's character, who arguably is the one that deserved it the most? So I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting movie. I understand why it's like a cult favorite. I understand why everyone loves it. I don't think I love it as much as most people do. I'm sorry to say. I feel like this might be one that we aren't like 100% on the same page as, but I definitely want to hear what you have to say.
You shut your fucking mouth, bitch. As she says to Kelly.
Yeah.
While sort of being possessed by Mary Lou.
I love that. And the principal standing right behind her.
Oh man, I liked this movie when it came out. I saw it in the theater. I saw it at the Walker Theater,
Oh,
along
cool.
along with The Outing,
Oh,
and
interesting.
I snuck into. I think I snuck into these movies, and I paid for Big Shots. That
Nice.
sounds right. That sounds like something I would have done. And so yeah, I saw a lot of movies, and I just remember being like, this is not the prom night that I know and love. This is not. This is not. This is something else, right?
Oh,
This is
totally something.
if I had guessed like this was like a movie that was probably called something else and they just slapped Prom Night 2's name on it, like that's probably what it was, and that's kind of what happened with this. Like it
Yeah,
started off as a different script, like The Haunting of Hamilton High.
sure.
Just having the name of the high school from the first movie being a connection, and then they eventually kind of tie it more to the other thing, but not by much. This really becomes its own thing. So you kind of have to go into this one kind of abandoning anything either like or dislike about the first prom night, because you're not going to get that with this.
Yeah.
You're going to get a prom. But you're not going to get any assemblage of like of any kind of seriousness or gravitas or performance. It's a different movie. It goes a little bit sillier. It does feel a little bit more of its time, like it was I think made in early '87, and so it's a different feeling thing. I don't know. On subsequent viewings, watching it on VHS and the Virgin VHS, and then eventually on the MGM DVD, I don't know. Every viewing, I've noticed that I've liked this movie more and more. So that's pretty good, right? When a movie can build with each viewing,
Definitely.
like it gets better and better. And now I just kind of love it. It's bonkers. It goes for bonkers. It goes for surreal.
Totally get it.
It's there's full frontal nudity that shouldn't be there, but it is.
Like a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, for like a final, someone who's like the pure character, like what? And then there's like incest.
That's what I'm kind of was alluding to. Like those places it goes, it's just you don't expect it. It's
just like making out with her dad, and he's kind of into it, and then the mom's like busts in like, no. She kills him. It's like, whoa. I think it's just a lot of that's kind of sprinkled throughout, and it has a silly sense of humor as well, but it doesn't like overload it as some of the other ones you do for me. It kind of is a good amount, and then a lot of like gruesome stuff. There's like her friend who I guess early on in the film, she has really big hair. She's tall, and then her name is Jess, and then she's like her character's revealed that she's pregnant,
right?
And then she gets killed off pretty early, and like, oh, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
So it has some like really like fucked up stuff, but then it gets kind of silly, and it's like a really mix of things. There's lots of like Elm Streety dream sequences sprinkled out.
Yeah, it definitely has that kind of vibe. I could see that.
Yeah, a scene where she's like caught in spider webs, and like then of course like the rocking horse stuff like you mentioned that adds a surreal quality to it, and just like a lot of that kind of mixed in, and I don't know. That's what I like about it. Now there's a lot of like little things that I can go back to and like really enjoy Mary Lou's performance. I think Lisa Schrage, whatever her name is, really good as Mary Lou. She has like something about like the devilish look in her eyes. Like she's really having fun, it seems like, while doing that performance.
Yeah, I think so.
I like that about her. And I think Wendy Lyon is good as this innocent character who gets slowly taken over by her. It takes a while for her to be fully possessed by Mary Lou, and I like that the movie kind of takes its time to get to that point, whereas some of the other movies maybe jump into that a little quicker.
Yeah.
But I think this one does that pretty well. Like it builds up a character, and then then you see that transformation. I think it's a pretty good transformation, like you mentioned. And like you mentioned, all those names of horror icons. It's kind of so they're clearly having fun with that and paying homage to horror. Horror People is written by Ron Oliver and then directed by Bruce Pittman, and then Ron Oliver would go on to make another movie in the series we'll get to. It's trivia wise, Peggy Sue Got Married was the inspiration of this movie to give it a 50s vibe.
Interesting.
Yeah, apparently that had just come out like in '86, and that's something that they saw, went to go see because it was the Francis Ford Coppola movie at the time, and they wanted to bring like a 50s vibe to this movie, and how that movie handles like her character being from 1986, who kind of goes back in time. That's kind of why the movie has that a little bit of that in there, the 50s vibe and then 80s setting. And then Samuel Goldwyn, the distributor, was looking for an Elm Street movie of their own. Since New Line had theirs, and so they sold it to them as a distributor, and then of course they wanted to use that Prom Night name that they owned, and so they slapped on the name.
Oh, right.
And they filmed it. Then they filmed it, and as it turns out, they didn't like the initial cut because it was too dramatic. And so they cut the movie, and then it basically became an hour long. They cut out all the stuff that didn't think worked. Said it was an hour-long movie.
Okay.
And so they went back and re-edited some stuff, and they reshot some stuff. And like the rocking horse stuff, that's a lot of those like really crazy things were added in in this reshoot, and made it a bit more surreal or Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. And that's kind of maybe sometimes reshoots work. Sometimes that adds to I think a lot of times these days reshoots are done and they kind of ruin a movie. But here I think it adds to the charm of this movie, and so I don't know. I don't know what that original cut was like. Maybe it was a little bit more like the original film. Yeah, but it sounds like that's what they were going for, something a little bit more serious initially. But having it, as it turned out to me, is fine with me. I thoroughly enjoy it. I like that a stink bomb was the catalyst to.
Yeah. It's so random. I will say, just the idea that you mentioned, they were kind of looking for a franchise. I will say, like, this Mary Lou, like this version of Mary Lou, could totally work as like this, a supernatural prom queen could totally work as like a recurrent villain for like a franchise, like a slasher franchise. The way she was in this movie, I would say more than, another one we're going to talk about, which she's a little bit more like, I mean, not to jump ahead, but I feel like she becomes a little bit more like Beetlejuice kind of than like Freddy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like it's I guess, even Freddy, look at how much the tone shifts throughout that series too. So what am I saying? But I could totally see her working as like
I find her really charming in this movie as Mary Lou.
Yeah, so I like that works for me for sure.
So like when after it came out, it made like not much in the way of box office. It made $2.6 million out of $4 million budget. So it didn't really quite work, but I'm sure it found a life on home video because of course they went on to do another movie. The full frontal scene for Wendy Lyon's character apparently directly inspired Robert Rodriguez's scene in The Faculty, where a certain character walks around nude in the lockers or amongst the lockers. That. Yeah. Apparently he's on record for saying that. And then the local Toronto papers hated it.
Interesting.
But a good review came in from the LA Times, which called it the Blue Velvet of high school movies.
Oh, how funny.
Just
What?
kind of fun.
I was going to ask you, me, but what are the rights issues with this one? How come it hasn't made its way on Blu-ray yet?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure what is going on with that. I know it was an MGM disc.
Yeah,
right?
the MGM, the DVD I've got is the MGM one for sure.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that somehow ended up within the MGM's catalog, which I don't know.
MGM's pretty good about. I mean, I think a lot of the movies I had that were on those MGM DVDs, even the MGM DVD-Rs, I have since been put out on Blu-ray. Like I can think of like a handful maybe that I'm still waiting for. Like what's that one? The Virginia Madsen Ghost one, Gotham. And this and like gosh, there's like a few other maybe. I'm blanking right now, but like I can't figure out. I mean, MGM all of those have made their way onto Blu-ray.
Unless the rights have reverted back to like the producers and they're sitting. Sure. That often happens, and then they're sitting on it for whatever reason. But I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird one. Because this movie definitely has a cult audience, as you mentioned. Like there's people who love this movie and are anxiously awaiting a Blu-ray, as am I. And I think, I think that's. Hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. I think do pretty well.
Well, I will say that as someone who listens to old episodes sometimes when I'm working or doing something around the house, there has been a lot of things you've kind of talked into existence that you've been like really like hopeful about. So hopefully this turns out to be one of those. You know?
I feel like Mary Lou, you got to do it. You know, it's like its 30th anniversary has come and went. It's like 33 years old now. Come on, like when are we getting this thing already?
Yeah, well, wait, how long did it take Mary Lou to come back? We got to do the math from 50. It would have
20 years.
It would have been So we missed it. That's a shame.
Come on, Mary Lou.
Maybe it'll come. Yeah, no, this is it's solid for sure. Like I totally understand the love. I think it's a really good movie. There's a lot of things I like about it. It just, I don't know, like there's some things about this one where I feel like I got to take a shower after. Just a little bit like weird, and like I love weird, don't get me wrong. It's like a little weird and sleazy and stuff, and it's just maybe it's just my fondness for the original that kind of stops me from loving this as much as I should. But hey, I mean that doesn't stop me with Halloween and Friday 13th and a lot of other franchises. So I think maybe it's just looking for the right release. That's what's gonna finally kind of get it over that hump.
I guess we decided that the Wendy's scene is our favorite kill scene in the first one. Would you say that's true or?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the best, I think, chase scenes of that era. So it's got to be.
Yeah. How about in this one? What would you say your favorite kill is in this one?
Gosh, I mean, off the top of my head, the one that always comes to mind is the crushing in the locker. But that's kind of that's another thing about this movie. Like the victims didn't do anything. There's, you know what I mean? Like they're not. It's not like the first Prom Night where they got what was coming to them, except for Slick, of course. Which we can do a whole episode on that. Justice for Slick.
R.I.P. Hashtag R.I.P. Slick and Justice for Slick. Yeah.
Exactly, but this is like these characters were innocent and they were like. Really supportive of Vicky and getting her back when Kelly was being mean to her or however you want to put that. So I don't know, like it's kind of weird because you felt for them in a way, but that scene is really good and like the gore that oozes out of the locker, it's like a little. I don't know, like I guess cartoonish or over the top, but it fits like with the rest of the movie. Like I think it's cool. So that's probably off the top of my head. I'd say that probably gets my vote. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I initially I was like, oh, maybe the the scene where the big haired Jess and you think she's gonna get the paper cutter.
Yeah.
And then she hangs, and then she's like thrown out a window. I'm like, this poor girl, like, oh my god. But then that's a little too downbeat. And then I love the locker death. That's definitely up there for me. It's really good. I mean, it does that whole full frontal scene leads up to the locker death, so maybe that's part of why it's such a stand-up. But Mary Lou's death, I think, to me, in general, is my favorite, because I don't know, it's just like she's like burning on fire, and the effects are really good. It's like and apparently that was like the longest like burning of someone like on screen, like up until that point. That held the record or something. So it's like something about it, like how long it is. Like
you're onto something there for sure. Yeah.
I don't know, it's something creepy about that, and just like how no one's helping her, and she's kind of like there, and like, yeah. So
no, that's
maybe
interesting.
Maybe in her head she blames everyone because no one's helped, no matter what.
When you think about people burning, think about the Burning, for example. Like it's a guy in a suit, obviously, like running on fire and like falling down or something, right?
Right.
But this goes on. Yeah, I don't think I gave it as much credit as I should. You're right. This is like someone standing there on fire with like really cool, effects going on, I guess, for melting effects or whatever you want to call it. So that's a great choice, actually.
Okay, some changes are ahead. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Enjoy.
Let's move on to Prom Night 3. Here is the VHS trailer.
Today's inter-school chess club tournament has been canceled. Club members are asked to report to the library and play with themselves.
This is Alex Gray. He's intelligent. He's athletic. He's an average guy.
When's lunch?
See anything you like?
This is Mary Lou Maloney. She's a good sport.
Touchdown!
She's sexy. She's dead. He was looking for something different.
Settle down.
She was looking for something new. But when they got together, it was something deadly.
You really gotta stop killing people.
Those kind of girls, you just fool around with them once, they turn on you, they rip your heart out, show it to you, then they dance all over it with their spike heels and ram it down your throat.
Well, what about our relationship?
What relationship? You killed him, I buried him in the football field. This is not your basic boy meets girl here. No, that's it. It's over.
But even hell hath no fury like Mary Lou Maloney, and on prom night, Alex Gray will learn breaking up is hard to do. Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, a romantic comedy from hell.
Women.
Okay, that's the trailer. I saw this on VHS. It was made for the home video market in the U.S. It was released in Canada, though, in theaters. In April, on April 13th of 1990, but didn't come to VHS in the U.S. in June 28th, 1990, IVE VHS, which I remember pretty well. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about Prom Night 3, to be honest. It was written and directed by Ron Oliver, who had wrote the second one. And then Peter Simpson, the producer of the Prom Night movies, he had a lot to say. He held a lot of weight. So I think he gets a co-director credit because he was pretty bossy. Maybe it's his franchise, right? So he gets to weigh in. But I don't know what is happening in this movie. Like what happened to the tonal shifts of between 1 and 2. I don't know. I guess they're a big leap, but they kind of make sense to me. But then the total shift between this one and the other ones, like what? What kind of? Yeah, it's like a weird jump for me, and I understand how that would appeal to people, or how it would not. Certainly for me, but I don't know. I watched it and didn't like it on this rewatch, and then I rewatched it again because I watched apparently the cut version. The Artisan DVD, whatever the double feature is cut. Is they use they cut out some nudity, they cut out some violence, and they have like alternate takes or something in this apparently in this Artisan version. So there was like another version available somewhere, like on YouTube or wherever. So I watched it. I'm like, okay, it's more violent, and like the lead of the movie gets to be like his naked in the movie, right? And so it ups the ante a little bit. So I enjoyed it a little bit more, but I don't know. I don't quite get what they were going for. Like I don't know what they were on while making this movie. There's a lot of weird, bizarre airplane-like comedy going on in this thing. Yeah. Which I thought was a little off-putting for me personally, but. Again, I could see where it would be entertaining for people too at the same time. A lot of questionable ADR, and a real obsessive love of American flags and music.
Yeah. For a Canadian
I was like,
movie,
what is going on in this movie? But there's some fun stuff too. I would say the ice cream kill is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. I like the character who says, "I don't get mad, I bake." I think that was Cindy Preston's character. Cindy Preston from The Brain and Pin, a movie I love. Here she gets to play a little bit silly.
I love The Brain. There you go.
Oh yeah, Brain on Blu-ray. So, I'm not sure if I like the actress who plays Mary Lou. I don't know. She doesn't have that charisma, so it's kind of a step down for me because of that. Maybe that's the catalyst of me not liking this movie as much because I feel like the actress who played Mary Lou was so good. Like, why didn't they get her again?
She was really good. Yeah.
She was so good.
This I can't remember who plays her in part 3. I know she's pretty. I mean, for what I remember, but I don't.
She's pretty, yeah. She's pretty in almost like Sherilyn Fenn kind of way, but
yeah.
But I don't know. I just didn't feel like I was missing that charm of the actress from Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
Yeah. She doesn't even have a picture on IMDb. I just pulled it up right now. Courtney Taylor, yeah. Don't know.
So yeah, I don't have a lot to say, but we have someone we're going to get to as a special guest. But I want to hear your take before we get to that.
Oh, sure. I'm excited for our special guest, actually, because he just told me a little bit earlier tonight he was going to be a special guest. I had no idea. So one thing I want to say, actually, we're recording pretty late at night, and I am a little drunker than usual. I got to apologize ahead of time. I know it's super late for you, too, but it is.
Oh, it's late, and I don't even have the glass of scotch. I have the bottle.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I actually didn't want to have to stop the recording, so I brought a couple of beers out by me. I think I had 4 to start with, and I thought it would last the whole episode. But while I was waiting for you to call me back, and this is just some behind the scenes for everyone, I actually drank 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
And finished the 4th one when we started. So, like, I mean, that's not a lot. It's just some, bottles of beer. It's whatever. But, this late at night, and it just kind of, I feel like a good prom buzz going, which is appropriate. So I think you did forget to read the description for this one. The VHS.
Oh my God, I totally did.
No, you're good, man. If you don't,
I'm gonna read it. I'll read it right now. Here we go.
All right, cool. Go for it.
Can always edit it. Or not. 30 years ago, prom queen Mary Lou Malone. This is gonna go so well. I'm keeping it in. Mary Lou Maloney dies in a fire at Hamilton High, but this hot tomato just won't stay dead. She's come back for some fun. She falls in love with a handsome hunk, Alex, and suddenly the boy is earning straight A's and scoring for the football team, as well as for the love-struck Mary Lou. But Mary Lou's magic turns to murder when anyone gets in her way. As the body count grows, Alex is no longer sure he can handle this vicious vixen, but there is no escape. As Alex learns, he dares to resist Mary Lou's hot lips. Who wrote this copy?
I don't know, but that's why I wanted you to read it, because I thought that was hilarious.
So good. So good. So weird.
Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know. I just, one of the reasons, like, I recommended this series was I thought the tonal shifts, like, from film to film would be something we enjoy. Like, we would enjoy the variety, Yep. It's not all the same movie. But having said that, like, I really underestimated how, prominent the comedy is in this movie. And it's not even, like, necessarily, like, my taste in comedy either, which is the problem. But I was looking up Ron Oliver to kind of just figure out, like, maybe, make a connection to other stuff he's done, and maybe it'll click better for me. And it looks like he actually directed a lot of my episodes of 2 of my favorite shows from when I was a kid, which is Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps. But what was funny to me is, like, thinking about that is, like, I think those were more, like, horror oriented than this movie was. So, like, they're not as, like, slapstick. They're not as goofy, like, they're creepy little shows for kids, but I don't know, that it's just something about this. And I love a good horror comedy, don't get me wrong. Like, one of my favorite movies of all time is, like, Return of the Living Dead or The Burbs. Like, these are movies that kind of fall in that category. But stuff like, if I'm honest, like, stuff like Student Bodies and stuff like that, like, it's just not really my taste. And I feel like this was, like, a little bit more maybe leaning that way. I think you said Airplane. Like, I think that's kind of a good example where it's a little bit, like, goofier, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not... it's not Evil Dead 2 kind of, like, I don't know, I've just got all these examples popping in my head, but you know what I mean. And it's just, some of it works. Like, I think, like, the ice cream cones definitely is, like, I got, like, a kick out of that. Mm-hmm. And that's, like, noteworthy, but, like, yeah, like, overall, I just wasn't really as into this. And I wonder what, if I saw... I want to say I saw the unedited cut, but I wonder, because I actually own, I bought DVDs from Spain for part 3 and 4 because I thought that they'd be, like, better transfers. Mm-hmm. They were, like, newer releases. And this was, like, I don't know, like, maybe 5 years ago or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I thought it would be a big difference from, like, that old, artisan one that you mentioned. And I want to say like I can't remember what that disc looked like, but the transfer is like super grainy. It doesn't look like it was like a remaster at all. So, but I do think it was uncut. I don't know. I know he was naked in the flag, and I think all the kills were there, but I don't know. Maybe I got to look into that after. I wasn't aware that there were different cuts of this one, or I would have, done some homework. But I don't know if that would change too much for me. I mean, it was okay. You got to see like a football kind of turn into the sphere from Phantasm, and some fun stuff there, and like some bad decisions, and like this character just kind of digging himself into a deeper hole and burying all these bodies on the football field.
Yeah.
And like I get a kick out of some of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, I like the change up of having a male final character. I think that was I think it was nice. That was a good choice.
Like maybe kind of like like Nightmare on Elm Street 2 or something like that, but
kind of
yeah. I mean, it's different for sure, but there's some things that kind of made that connection just with having a male in that role, and the way he's being manipulated and stuff, and the way it's kind of ruining his love life and all these other things. But I don't know. It's just I wanted to like it. I just think it's kind of it could have been better. But I didn't hate it for whatever it's worth.
So now we get to listen to our own Ben Sher talk about this movie and his connection to it. Here it is. Take it away, Ben.
Hello, everybody on Retro Movie Love. It's me, Ben. It's been a long time, but hopefully we'll be reacquainted soon. Since I'm in quarantine, trapped in my apartment with nothing to do, all I've been doing for the last 2 weeks is brooding and thinking with great anger and ire about how Meep told me he did not like Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss. I pace back and forth all day and night. I mean, how can anyone not like this masterpiece? It's like not liking a small child or a little kitty cat. I've been making many voodoo dolls of him, uttering incantations first stated by Hildegard Neff in the movie Witchery, which I was also obsessed with when I was obsessed with Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss. So yeah, this movie, I don't know, it just resonated with me when I was a kid. I first saw... It was one of those movies where I saw like little bits and pieces of it all the time on USA. They used to show it all the time. They show Prom Night 3... and then I'm Dangerous Tonight, which was about a woman who inherits a possessed dress, which I should see again. But I could never see the whole thing, so finally I rented it. And I don't know, I just thought it was the most entertaining movie ever. Like I watched it like a million times. I rented it, and then it was one of the rare movies where I remember I had a $25 gift certificate to Saturday Matinee at the mall, and I didn't know what to spend it on because it was so precious to me. So I was just at the store for like 3 hours trying to decide. I don't remember what I rejected. I wish I could. But at the end, I got The Bodyguard cassette tape, which was new, and Prom Night 3. I actually really liked Mary Lou, who I know is very notorious. I don't know. I think I liked her more than... I think for some reason I did love Prom Night 2. I think I was too wigged out. I saw that after Prom Night, and I was too wigged out by the fact that it wasn't about Jamie Lee Curtis and her friends. I love it now. I think it's great. I think it's better than Prom Night 3 now. But for some reason, so that was my sacrificial lamb. But then with Prom Night 3, I was like, well, I'm used to it not being that story, so I accept it. So I thought Mary Lou was great. I thought she was really pretty, and I liked a pretty murderous girl. I remember really liking the color palette of the film. It was kind of Heathers-esque, right? Like lots of primary colors. I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember like lots of neon gel lights, which I was a big fan of. Long before I knew about Mario Bava or Dario Argento, anything that was like a cheap imitation of their films, I loved. I thought the main guy, I think he was filmed by Tim Conlon. I think he was played by Tim Conlon. I thought he was really, really, really cute. And isn't he like naked on like making love on an American flag in one scene? I was into that. Meep, you might not have seen that since you watched the TV version. And I thought his friend was cute too. Like I know that it's like this love triangle between him and I think Cynthia Preston and Mary Lou, but I really just remember it as being about those two guys being in love with each other. I like Cynthia Preston a lot. She reminded me of Jessie Spano on Saved by the Bell. It's even possible that when I was a kid, like maybe I thought that she was played by Elizabeth Berkley, but I think I knew she wasn't. But I liked the hair and like the vests and the look and just her personality. I was drawn to her because she was like the down-to-earth one. The one who's like over all this horror movie crap and her stupid, emotionally unavailable boyfriend. Even when I was like 8 or however old I was like, oh yeah, I get her. And then that remained true for my entire life. I like that she says, I don't get mad, I bake. And then when he comes over, she gives him like 1,000 cookies. That resonated with me for a long time, and I always thought about it. I don't get mad, I bake. I thought that was a really good way to be passive aggressive. Just I wanted to just throw dozens of cookies at people. Like Meep. Oh my God, I'm gonna send Meep 2,000 chocolate chip cookies to show him how mad I am that he doesn't appreciate the second Citizen Kane. The kill scenes, which I know are very hard to find now because they're not on, or at least they're not in their full graphic glory on the American DVD. You can get them on a German DVD. I think German or Australian. You don't even know how much research I had to do. It took years to figure out where I could get the whole version of Prom Night 3 on DVD. But it's like this box set with all of the movies. I think it's from Germany. It wasn't too expensive. That has the full gory scenes. And as some of you may know, if you've listened to the podcast for a long time, I was a really unsuccessful child. Like I hated playing and being outside, and more than anything, I hated school and teachers who were always giving me shit. So I love that in Prom Night 3, she goes after the teachers. The murder by ice cream cone is very, very triggering to me because I'm obsessed with ice cream and addicted to it. It plays a really important role in my life. So the idea that you could be seduced by a giant ice cream stand and then murdered by being impaled by 2 cones going into your hand and a cake batter thing going into your head, that just chills me to the bone, even though he deserved it. And I felt so much, I probably liked it too because I identified with the main guy who did badly in school all the time. Like, I totally was that. I'm sure I wanted Mary Lou to come, like, kick my ass for me. That's why I loved Carrie also. And then, of course, the Nora Ephron ripoff guidance counselor who gets doused in battery acid by Mary Lou in disguise as, like, a gum-smacking hairstylist. I like that Mary Lou disguises herself in this movie a lot. Like, sometimes she's in her prom dress, but sometimes she's works in an ice cream parlor. Sometimes she is a hairdresser. Sometimes she is a football player. Football, drill, love it. The kid who gets killed because by the football drill. I mean, you could tell. I don't want to be like, what's the word? Profiling people, but Ron Oliver, who wrote and directed it, who's very fascinating to me. He's very glamorous on his Facebook page and very charming and very well dressed. I mean, he's like an old Hollywood movie director, and I just wish that I could be him, honestly. But anyway, he's gay. Like, you almost wonder if there's some gay sensibility going on in Prom Night 3 with all the costume changes and all the anti-authoritarianism with high school teachers and jocks. And so, in some ways, Mary Lou in this movie feels like gay vengeance. I mean, I'm just saying that now, but that resonates with me. There's an anti-authoritarian streak to her that I really enjoy, and of course we saw that a lot in the 80s with different villains. It was teens against adults in the 80s and the early 90s, and I missed that. And on this note, probably the most important scene for me in Prom Night 3: The Last Kiss is the educational video scene, where after Mary Lou has seduced him and then started the main guy and then started stalking him and he wants to get rid of her and he can't. Love the Fatal Attraction element, by the way. Very excellent. I love that, like, Hello, Mary Lou Prom Night 2 is like the 80s female friendship gone wrong. So it's kind of like the Beaches gone wrong, or Heather's gone supernatural, but already wrong. And this is like Fatal Attraction in high school with supernatural elements into that. So he wants her to go away, and she's stalking him. Can't get rid of her. He's in science class, I think, or sex ed maybe, and the teacher's like, we're going to watch an instructional film about venereal disease, and drags out the 16 millimeter projector and shows this great thing about, like, this nice girl who comes to the city and then gets seduced and then becomes a hussy who has venereal disease, and it's great. And again, Ron Oliver has such a great campy sensibility, and I love the way he kind of emulates the cheap look of a student film, of an instructional film at that time. And then suddenly, when Mary Lou becomes a hussy, she turns around and faces the audience and says something to the main guy like, "You're never gonna get away from me. I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna be here forever." And again, anyone who knows me knows, I love a spooky film strip that comes to life in any way. I like it. My favorite ever is the one in Witchery, the spooky avant-garde witch movie on the projector that runs itself. But this must have been kind of a trope in the late 80s too. But this is like a funny, bitchy, scary film strip. And that's unusual and very cool. I mean, it's like The Ring if The Ring were sassy gay vengeance. Excellent. And she's wearing like a sequin halter top. It's so good. So the story that I have about this scene, when I was in 5th grade, I was invited to be on a kids news show on our local public access station, which recorded out of the library. And that began a long public access career reviewing movies for, 2 or 3 years. Before my career ended because of internal difficulties with various co-stars. So they said they wanted you to review a movie. And I was like, well, obviously the film that I need to review on this 5th grade public access kids news show, Kids News Tonight, is Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, without question. Was I in 5th grade? I might have even been younger. I might have been in like 3rd or 4th grade. I was very sophisticated. My taste was very evolved. It was exactly the same as it is now. So I was already controversial at my school because I was always showing other kids like inappropriate movies. Like the Born Again Christian kid came over to my house and I showed him The Exorcist and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I just wanted to share. Like, I didn't know that I was going against all of the teachings that his family held near and dear, but I guess so kids were afraid, parents were afraid to let their kids go over to my house. I was the pariah. I was Mary Lou Maloney. I was Mary Lou Maloney when I was in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade in Del Mar. So everybody said to me, like, you can't show any gory or violent clips from this movie or anything inappropriate. And I was like, well, all the best scenes, are gory and violent. What am I going to do? So I was like, I know. I was like, the best scene in the movie doesn't have any gore or violence at all. We're going to do the venereal disease educational film stalking scene. And I showed it. I reviewed the film. I don't remember what I said. Probably exactly what I'm saying now. And of course it didn't do anything good for my reputation. I mean, everybody who watched that must have been like, what the fuck, who is this kid? And my poor parents, who I have no sympathy for at all, also took the brunt of it because they were the ones who created this demon. They were Lee Remick and Gregory Peck, whatever. It wasn't their fault. I just was born this way. So that didn't help, and Kids News Tonight only lasted for 1 episode. There was production drama on that show too. It wasn't my fault. But I loved Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, forever and ever. And I'm so happy that I have it on DVD now. I'm going to watch it right after I get off of this because it's been a really long time. I hope that all of you could find a way to see the uncut version. I've been hoping for a Blu-ray for a long time. But, even the thing is, I was going to say, we all know slasher movies aren't about the gore, they're about the character development. And I usually do think that's true with, like, an elevated slasher film, like a Friday the 13th Part 3, 3D, or Don't Go in the Woods, But with Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, maybe it is kind of about the gore, too, in addition to the character development. So you ought to see the full version. And I choose to believe that if Meep watched the uncut version, if he found it, maybe he liked it more and we could be friends again. But something tells me he probably wouldn't. And that's okay. I've gotten used to being the only person on Earth, other than Chris Moore, who loves this movie. But at least there's the two of us. And we could have our coven together, and nobody else is allowed in, with Mary Lou. It will be us and Mary Lou, and Cynthia Preston, and we'll make lots of cookies for our meetings, because we're all so angry, because there's just, like, nothing... I mean, there's like nothing but things to be angry about now. It's just like I'm drowning in cookies that I would make from my anger. So thank you all for listening, and I can't wait to hear the whole episode. And Meep, I'm not really angry at you. I love you. I forgive you. And I respect you. I respect that we can have differences in opinions sometimes, even if this one hurts more than usual. Ara, I'll be interested to hear what you think. I feel like you might like this movie. I feel like you might. I hope you don't hear this until after the thing, because I don't want you to be afraid, to be honest, because honesty is important. I don't advocate censorship. Just remember, it's not who you go with, it's who takes you home.
Hey, Ben, thank you so much for that. Pretty wild. I love your personal connection to this film. I could imagine you on a show talking about this movie.
We love you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. And it makes me want to rewatch the movie and see it through your eyes. I really want to see it in a different light and enjoy it again. So I'm hoping, like we keep talking about, like a Blu-ray for part 2, maybe a Blu-ray for 3 and 4 will make me change my mind about these movies. So we'll see.
A good transfer really does go a long way sometimes. And a lot of these things, of course, it's like nostalgia, and there's certain movies that I didn't see when I was younger. Like this is one of them. I don't remember when the first time was I saw it, but I'll give a spoiler right now. I didn't see part 4 until this week, and I never realized that before. I just thought I had, because I had the DVD, set in the garage or whatever. But I don't think I'd ever actually watched it, and it might be because I stopped after 3. I don't know, but I love Ben. I love Ben's take on movies, and it does make me kind of appreciate it a little more. And I'll definitely look at it differently.
How dare I resist Mary Lou's hot lips? I mean, as a description, I'm never gonna get over that description for this movie.
Yeah.
So this hot tomato just won't stay dead. So.
Oh man, hot tomato! You don't see that every day.
I'm not sure why they didn't continue Mary Lou in part 4, but they went a different way. So let's get to it. Here is Prom Night 4. Deliver us from evil.
For our second great offer, here's your ticket to top profits on terror.
Here's to Prom Night.
Prom Night to Prom Night.
Prom Night is coming to high schools across America. Be ready for the big night with the newest addition to the fast-renting Prom Night series. Teens will be screaming for Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil. When you buy 2, you'll get a 3rd copy absolutely free.
So, where is this place that we're going?
My parents' summer home. It's right in the middle of nowhere.
Sounds romantic.
Tonight, a frisky foursome are making their own private party.
Dear me, Father, for how much fun I'm going to have tonight.
They're about to cut loose and have a sinful good time.
Are you attracted to me?
But no, these bad boys and girls are in big trouble.
I know who you are. I saw what you did.
Who's there?
It's too late for you now.
And no ear can hear their cries.
What's happening?
No voice can answer their prayers.
Grant me strength, and I will deliver their soul's onto you.
And nothing can save their souls.
We have to get out. We gotta do something.
Prom Night 4. Deliver us from evil. Buy 2 and get 1 free from Live.
Maniacal killer stalks 2 young couples on the night of their prom in this 4th installment of the hit Prom Night series. After 33 years in captivity, a possessed man who is evil beyond imagination escapes and makes his way to a monastery he knows from his youth. But it is now a summer home where 4 teens are celebrating prom night in their own special way. The kids intended to make this an evening to remember. Their uninvited guest turns it into a night of unspeakable terror that you will never forget. And that is the description from the live home video VHS. And Meep, that actually reminds me, buddy, do we want to talk about live home video and live entertainment?
Yes. One of my bits of trivia that I left off for Prom Night 3 was that it was financed by Jose Menendez. If you remember correctly, the Menendez brothers. Apparently, that was their dad, and he was the head of that. And the director of Prom Night 3, Ron Oliver, had met with him and his family. And then that weekend and that Monday, he found out that he was murdered by the Menendez boys, and the production was delayed because of that. So, so the Prom Night movies are kind of tied to Prom Night 3 and 4 are tied a bit to Menendez with being from Live.
Sure, no, and you told me that when we were kind of chatting about the show, exchanging messages throughout the week, and that blew my mind. So I really wanted you to, share that in case anyone else didn't know, because I definitely didn't know that, which is very interesting. So this movie, again, like one of the reasons I wanted to watch the series again and thought it'd be fun to cover was the tonal shifts. Another reason was I wasn't sure I'd seen them all. I just couldn't remember. And even part 3, I didn't remember well. I'm pretty sure this is my first time watching this, and in some ways it was like a kind of a nice surprise that it was a slasher. It was like only a handful of characters, almost like something you'd see in like the late 70s or something, especially like there's a lot of like these weird religious overtones and stuff going on, and a lot of that kind of made it feel more like something you would see in, like 77 or something, not 91. There was things like that I appreciated about it for sure. It was a real surprise. I mean, I was like kind of like shocked about like some things that were happening in this movie. Like I like literally probably was like slack-jawed a couple of times. Like there's a scene where like a cardinal like orders his like underlings to like make it seem like this priest like hung himself. This priest that got killed by the evil priest. Oh, and the priest that was killed is actually that actor that we mentioned before, Brock. I'm blanking on his name now.
Brock Simpson, yeah.
Brock Simpson, yeah. I feel like
I think it was the son of the guy who owns this franchise.
Oh yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, that must be it. But yeah, like he kills that priest and the cardinal like to escape from this the place where they've kept this deranged murderous priest captive. And he's not just like deranged, he's not just a killer, he's like got superpowers too, supernatural powers, and it's interesting. There's a scene actually where they're riding in the limo and they toast to Jamie Lee Curtis, which I couldn't believe. Like I rewinded it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, wait, did I miss something? And like, no, they just said to Jamie Lee Curtis. And then I was even more shocked because all they do is drive by their prom. They don't even go to the prom.
They don't go to the prom.
And it's called Prom Night. Like they don't go to the prom. There's no prom in this movie. So So like it was like right after they did that toast in the limo, they just drive by and one of the guys like kind of moons the people going into the prom, and they leave, and I'm like, wait, like that was it? That's the prom, and they're going to the house. So in a way, I wonder just if you take the fact that there's no Mary Lou, there's none of that stuff carried over from 2 or 3. There's obviously nothing carried over from 1. Again, the only common thing we have is I think you said the score is still Paul Zaza, right?
Yep.
And so you've got that. You've got Brock, who's become the mascot for the series, and you've got the Hamilton High setting. That's it. But I wonder if this was originally another script that got reworked into a prom night movie, because again, there's no prom night in this movie, and it could have very easily been something else. I usually like the masked stalkers for slashers. There's a lot of movies I love where they're not masked stalkers. Like I love Slumber Party Massacre. Oh, there's another example of a comedy, a horror comedy that I love, Slumber Party Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
But that it works sometimes. This Father Jonas, the killer here, he was all right. Like he didn't have Mary Lou's charm, obviously, but he was like pretty menacing, and obviously like he's like pretty sick and scary in his own way. I can't think of a lot of movies where you see like a super powered priest like crushing people's skulls with his bare hands, and like hanging up bodies on crucifixes and just starting them on fire with like pyrokinesis or whatever. And so in a way, like he's pretty formidable. But it is kind of funny to me, having watched this. Like I want to say I watched the Mary Lou movies back to back, and then I watched this the next night. And I want to say I think that's how I watched them. And I made this connection where I was like, Mary Lou and Father Jonas like could not be more different. And like I want to see like a Father Jonas versus Mary Lou Prom Night 5.
That would be good, yeah.
And I don't know how that would make any sense, but I mean, with this series, like, why does it matter? Even like, I just think that they're like so on the opposite ends of the spectrum that he would be so against everything that she stands for. And that'd be a fun battle to watch. So, so I don't know. It was, gosh, I mean, it was an interesting movie. Again, I kind of like that it was like just a small group of characters and you spend a lot of time with them. I can see where a lot of people would think that's boring. Again, don't get me wrong. Like I love like a Friday the 13th sequel formula where you got people drop in like every few minutes, but sometimes like kind of like a sleepier, more low-key slasher is fun too, and I do like that this was more of a slasher, and it's like kind of I guess a supernatural slasher. I don't know what else to categorize this movie as, but yeah, it's kind of just another bizarre turn in this franchise that's so disconnected, and I think there's something charming about that. Even if the movies aren't all hits necessarily, right. I think like the sum is more than the parts, and like the fact that if you look at these 4 movies together, and how different they are, and the different things they offer and the different places they go, like I think it's pretty fun and unmistakably Canadian, and there's something like charming about that.
Right.
What do you think about this one?
Oh boy, I think after watching this one, I appreciated 3 a little bit more.
Sure.
To be honest, Part 2 and 3 are pretty eccentric films. They have a lot of weird things in them that maybe in 3 or 2 or even don't fit, but somehow they make them work. Here, I don't know if there's enough. There's enough of that. There's not enough personality in this movie to make me interested. I mean, old teenagers in a house with a killer priest with a ponytail. So scary. That's basically what I take away from this movie. It's like, what?
Yeah. How did I forget to mention that ponytail? Yeah.
That ponytail, yeah. I mean, other than that, it's my favorite snowy prom movie.
Sure.
You know, proms are generally in the spring, early summer of.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
But this one is very snowy for some reason. Okay. Yeah. So make big questions like, where is the prom? Where is the prom? Why is this called Prom Night?
And it starts off in 1957 again, right?
Yeah.
Was that another common thing I'm remembering?
Yeah, it ties back to that prom from 1957 in Hamilton High.
Which would have been at the same school.
Yeah, which would have been the same school that burned down, but there's no other link. They don't mention that, and I'm like, just the priest. It's like, it's very confusing to me. Like, why even bother? At that point,
How cool would it be if, like, that scene where they're kind of making out in the hallway, like, you just see someone open a door and, like, Mary Lou's, like, burning on the stage in the background, but no one acknowledges it? Like, these characters just keep talking. It has nothing to do with this movie, but I don't know.
Yeah, they have the opportunity of opening that door, of doing that, of, like, kind of connecting it and calling back. But they don't. I don't know. Maybe because the movie feels so cheap. I don't know. It just feels like
it does.
It's like a bunch of people in a house, like a few people in a house movie. That's what it really feels like to me.
And that house probably belonged to, like, someone involved with the movie. Yeah, the producer.
Exactly. It just feels like a cheap cash in on the title, and that's, to me, that's what it feels like. And
no, it really does. I think it was meant. I don't know this, but I'm pretty sure this was meant to be something else, and it was just repurposed.
It was directed by Clay Boris, who did Quiet Cool, which I think is a pretty decent movie. He was also a second unit director on Wrong Turn, which is a much better slasher movie. That's all I got.
No, I think that's plenty, honestly.
Yeah, there's not a lot of info about this movie, but I just feel like it was just a real cash it on title kind of movie.
Well, I'm with you 100%, but, like, I don't know, like, can't you imagine, like, if, like, Prom Night 3 and 4 got releases, like how Scream Factory gave Halloween 2 and 3, for example, like, 5-6 years ago, whenever that was. I think it's even longer, gosh. But like, could you imagine, like just like something like really like prestige kind of packaging and some like really cool covers or whatever? I don't know. Like, would these be more love, like these great transfers? Because I just feel like we didn't, like, I didn't grow up with these. I didn't, and I've seen really crappy transfers every time I've watched them, and like they just treated with no love. But you know what, like, then again, there's so many movies that are treated with no love that we still love. So
right,
I don't know if that necessarily would make a difference, but I don't know. Something about these last two, I was really kind of excited about watching them, and I thought like I was going to kind of discover some new gems or, movies that I'd like to go back to and stuff. But just, it kind of, I guess, trailed off in quality.
I definitely feel like for me, it's like it does go in the order of the release, like of how good they are, but. I don't know. I might revisit 3 if there's a new transfer. I think I definitely would revisit 3. Yeah. But I'm not sure I would go back to 4. I mean, I feel like there's not enough there to make me interested in. Like, wasn't that into the characters or the actors who play them, and like they're a little anonymous. Like they all kind of look a little bit like each other too. And like, there's not a lot of distinction there.
The guys did, I think. For sure.
Yeah, I definitely did, and so maybe I don't know. Maybe if within a box set context with new extra features and stuff, I might do that. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, like I didn't hate it, but I mean if that's the best thing you could say.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. There's a movie in the Prom Night franchise I hate, but we'll get to that soon enough. All right, let's hear what you guys have to say about the Prom Night movies. They put out the call. on Patreon and on Facebook. Mike Alishan, not sure who he is. His name sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's that bastard that I played Eddie Freddy with.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned earlier.
There you go. He said the first one, but I think this is one of the best series in horror. Wait, the first one, but I think this is one of the best series in horror, and a Blu-ray box set would be epic. 2 is also fun, but I really love 3 and 4.
Oh, there
it's
you go.
much darker in tone, but it's pretty awesome. So look, we have a series fan here with Mike Alishan. So thank you, Mike. Bill wrote in, I still haven't seen the 2008 one, but I gravitate towards Hello, Mary Lou. It's the first one I saw in the series and a really good time. The banana split murder sequence in 3, though, deserves all the kudos.
Sure.
Pat Lighthelm, go in order of year released. I fell asleep during the 2008 one and don't really feel a need to see it all the way through. Daryl, Deladon, and Damien. Okay, first one, made in my hometown. Friends in it and lots of personal connections. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Ben Sher wrote in, whoa, my ranking is literally in order of release. David No-Fire, Hello, Mary Lou. Joseph Charlesworth, oh, the 2008 remake by far. Nah. But in all seriousness, I've always felt the sequel, Hello, Mary Lou, was actually better than the original, Prom Night. There is just more inventiveness to the kills in the first film, and I like that the female killer in this case happens to be supernatural. I know she's also in the third movie, but I still haven't seen that one. I'll get to that one. I'll get on that. Chris Moore. Hello, Mary Lou is easily the best, followed by the original. The Last Kiss and Deliver Us from Evil. The remake never happened. That remake never happened. Yep, hear you. Andrew Burrell, Hello, Mary Lou. Then 1980. Then The Last Kiss, the unrated version only. And then Deliver Us from Evil. And then 2008. Those are his rankings.
Sure.
Mike Gallagher, Hello, Mary Lou. Lisa Perez, I like them all, but Prom Night and Prom Night 2 have nothing to do with each other. Other than that, having the same high school name. Okay. Ryan Barriecco, Prom Night 2 is the best. Kieran Edwards, Hello, Mary Lou is a rocking horse winner for me. Lee Abernathy, Part 1 is his number 1. His number 2 is Deliver Us from Evil. Interesting. Number 3 is Hello, Mary Lou. His number 4 is The Last Kiss. His number 5 is Prom Night 2008 with a puke emoji. And then Louis Adams, really tough between 2 and 3. I didn't care for 1, and 4 was awful. 2 by a slight margin, but loved Part 3. Okay.
That's cool. So
we got some fans for Part 3 here, which is cool, and a couple of surprising fans for Part 4, which is interesting too. So.
Yeah, and a lot of our friends, a lot of names I recognize there. Obviously, it's fun to hear which ones people love because everyone has different tastes, and I think you and I are totally like supporters of that. And you as the champion of Halloween 5, me as the champion of Jason Takes Manhattan, that will die on those hills. Like I think it's great that people. Love Prom Night 3, love Prom Night 4 even. So that's great. Yeah. All the more power to them. 2008, come on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the 2008 one a little bit. Here's the TV spot.
It was a memory she couldn't forget.
High school teacher got obsessed with a student, and he went psycho.
He was caught and put away.
But this April...
Where is she?
She's at her senior prom.
He escaped from jail.
Her nightmare...
Hello?
Oh, I've missed you. ...has just begun.
I got officers down. I need backup now.
Please don't do this. Oh, my God.
Prom Night. Rated PG-13.
Down the synopsis for this thing. Do I really need to write?
I forgot to even send you that.
Here.
I
wrote it down. 3 years ago, Donna, played by Brittany Snow of John Tucker Must Die, watched in horror as an obsessed predator. Jonathan Skyich of That Thing You Do murdered her family. Tonight is her senior prom, and although she's anxious about the past, she's excited to celebrate her future with her friends. What Donna doesn't know is that a deranged psychopath has escaped from the asylum. He's returned to hunt her down, intent on killing anyone who gets in her way. As the night races towards its heart-pounding conclusion, the question becomes not who will be the prom queen, but who will survive the killer's rampage.
Ooh.
That was from the 2008 DVD, which is the way I saw this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to the theater to see this. I knew I wasn't going to like this movie, so I didn't bother paying to go see it in the theater.
Your radar strong, yeah, is on point.
It was released in April 11, 2008. It made $43 million at the box office, on the U.S. box office, and $56 million worldwide. So it was kind of a hit, I guess.
Yeah, wow, I'm surprised. I had no idea.
I remember it playing on a drive-in screen, going back to the drive-ins, since that's kind of like how we need to watch movies these days. It was playing on the next screen over from me. I can't remember what I was watching in April of 2008 at the at the drive-in, but I was watching something, and on the next screen was Prom Night, and I was looking over. I'm like, oh boy,
oh how funny!
That's that movie. Jeez, what to say about this movie? Okay, this is what I'm going to say about this movie. Rewatching it this time, I rewatched it actually with my wife. I spent the entire 90 minutes of this movie staring at the gash in Brittany Snow's forehead.
Oh yeah, I noticed that too.
That was it. That was my takeaway from the Prom Night remake, and I'm done. Good night. What was your take?
Interesting. I like your take. I think that's pretty thorough.
That's all I remember from it. Yeah. So.
Well, it's funny because when I first met my wife, who I love and who's a Patreon supporter too, because she knows I love doing this, she told me that she likes slasher movies too, and there was some that were classics and stuff, obviously, and she was like, "Oh, you should see the Prom Night remake. It's really good." And we watched it together. And I think even she was like, yeah, it's not that good. And I was laughing so much, throughout this movie, inappropriately, I'm sure. But it was just unintentionally, really funny to me. And there was just, even watching it again now, so this was the first time I'd watched it since then. I don't remember when that was. It was a long time ago. But there was stuff that I just think is really funny, like the fact that they leave her under, that detective's protection at the end, who looks like Screech from Saved by the Bell. And there's another cop car there that you could kind of see in the background, but they never shows oh, I guess it does show one of the cops got killed or something else. But you just would think they'd have a lot more manpower than that. And I just thought I laugh at that. I remember laughing really hard at her boyfriend, who stayed there to take care of her and just fell asleep, and doesn't even show how he died. He just gets killed in his sleep. And maybe that's saying more about me. Maybe I shouldn't be laughing as hard at some of these things, but
you should be.
Yeah, I just remember laughing a lot. And I did. So this time I remember the first time I got it, I think I saw it at Big Lots or something, and it was $3. And my wife, said she liked it, so I got it. But I didn't hold on to the DVD because it wasn't a movie I wanted in my collection. So I probably tossed it in the donation pile or, garage sale or whatever. Who knows? So this time I rented it off of Apple TV, and I noticed when you go to rent it, it shows the Rotten Tomatoes score, which was 7%. So for whatever that's
that high.
Yeah, I don't put a lot of weight into that. I mean, obviously everyone has different tastes and stuff like that, but that I just got a kick out of that too. It just was so fitting. But yeah, that it could have been lower even, right? Because the way that works, it just had to skew a little negative, and you would think they'd all skew a little negative. So so I don't know. I forgot Idris Elba was in this.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to see him in kind of the equivalent of the Dr. Loomis role, in a sense, where he's I guess he's the authority figure trying to catch this escaped maniac or whatever.
Not very well, gotta say.
No, pretty bad. And her therapist was also noteworthy, who I noticed this time is, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but Ming-Na Wen, who I know because she's the original voice actress of Mulan and has done other stuff. She was in The Mandalorian, the Star Wars show that I was a fan of.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was on ER or something, right? I think.
Maybe, yeah. That's where my nerd brain went to, but it's possible. She's probably been in a lot of stuff. Which I didn't remember they were in it, which was kind of cool, But I mean, what's that? So I did recognize one of the actors' names on IMDb, and the name stood out to me, and I just clicked on his picture, and it said he grew up in Burbank, and so I think I went to high school with him. I went to high school at Burbank High.
Cool.
Actually, I went to high school with Problem Child, the actor from Problem Child.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the poor guy kept to himself, and everyone just yelled "Problem Child" at him pretty much all the time, which just sucks. He's like walking around wearing like an army jacket, like longer hair and stuff. But yeah, I went to school with Problem Child. I don't know why I'm bringing that up now, but so I remember this actor's sister was a cheerleader because I played football in high school, and I was really friendly with like most of the cheerleaders, and like I remember his sister, and I'm sure that that's who this guy is, and his name is Kelly Blatz. He's the jerk boyfriend who goes back up to the hotel room to get his get his date, and he just gets killed. I guess like everyone kind of gets killed the same way in this movie. Is this? Yes,
they all go up to the room and they get killed.
Yeah, like they find themselves in some weird, except for like the mini chase, I guess. Everyone just basically like gets surprised by this guy, and he just like pounces on him. And it's just, I don't know. It's like, you want to see some variety, I guess, in like a slasher, right?
It's so repetitive, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like a slasher. Like I don't know what it feels like. It's like almost like a Lifetime movie, just with like a little bit more I don't know, I don't even want to say gore because it's pretty bloodless, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was funny that I probably went to school with this guy, or I might have just missed him, but I definitely went to school with his sister because that last name is pretty unique, Blatz, and I definitely remember his sister. So that's what I took away from it. And,
you took a little bit more than me staring at a gash in someone's forehead.
Yeah, and like I will say, so I do like the idea of like having a prom night horror movie set at like a hotel, like a venue, because that's a lot closer to what my prom experience was in 2001.
Totally, not just like some random house.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, yeah. So again, Prom Night 4, like the prom night with no prom, but like this was like definitely like the prom was. It was like what we get nowadays, but like even like more over the top, and they even wrote that into the script, saying like this rich girl that was trying to be the prom queen, had her daddy pay for things or whatever. But like it was like a lot more closer to my prom night experience, and so like I kind of like I think that's kind of a cool idea for a setting. But again, like, and honestly, like I wish my prom was a lot more like 1980. Because that's pretty awesome. But sadly it was like for like 2008. So
no disco madness like in the
no, that would have been awesome. I think that would have been great. But I don't know. Well, you know what, Meep? Since I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie, I want to ask you something, buddy.
Sure.
And we kind of touched on this at the beginning, but it's something I've kind of been thinking about throughout this podcast, and I'm about 6 beers in now. So maybe that helps, but if like I want to know a few things. I want to know, how was your prom night, and I want to know, if it was a slasher movie, would you have survived?
My prom night was not very memorable. Would I have survived? Yes.
That's good.
I would say yes.
That's good, man. No, that's awesome.
I was sort of like a DJ at my prom.
Oh, no way.
So I was actually the Alex character in the first movie. Like he was sort of like a DJ in it. That's why you don't think of Alex the killer in the first movie because he's like kind of DJing, right? Like isn't he? But I guess there are two DJs, so you just don't really notice it. And then there's two
someone
DJs.
else up there with them. But you're right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put that together because when is he slipping away? He would have had to do it a bunch of times.
Yeah. So I was sort of doing that, and then there was like other people too doing it. It was kind of like you were doing like a shift almost.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think I could have slipped away pretty easily and killed people. So maybe I was the villain.
Dude, I love that. That's perfect for you, man. I'll try to give the short version, but like I went to most dances I went to in high school was like a date, like an actual date, like a girl I was interested in or she was interested in me. And it was a big deal to me because when I was in middle school, I was such a bad kid in middle school that I was always on the list that they wouldn't let you in the dance.
Oh, really?
We had a list. I don't know if that's normal or not, but they would I would walk up and I'd even know the girl, and I'd have a date and everything. She'd be like, "I'm so sorry, you're on the list," and they wouldn't let me go because I had too many bad citizenship scores or detentions or whatever. Because I was really bad in middle school, but in high school I was okay because I had to keep eligible for sports, for football, for track. So even though I was an idiot, I kind of stayed a little bit more off the radar, especially the older I got. And by my senior year, I was pretty good at keeping out of trouble. And unfortunately, though, I went to prom with a girl who was one of my best friends. And we just thought it would be a really fun idea. We'll go together. And she's a beautiful girl, and we're still friends today. But I know for a fact I wouldn't have survived because not only was I too busy partying with my friends and drinking way too much and smoking way too much, but I actually kind of ditched my date to try to go after, I had a love at first sight moment with one of my friend's older sisters that showed up. I don't know how, I'd never met her before, and she just showed up at our after party at the hotel and stuff, and I just totally fell in love with her. So I think I was not a good person to make it through a slasher. I would have gone for sure. I did everything you could do wrong. So I think it's just funny watching these and kind of thinking about it. That's almost 20 years ago now. We're all way different people than we were back then. But man, I was an idiot, and I definitely would have been a goner. So,
but I want to see your prom night movie though. That sounds like a fun one.
Oh, and it's so much of it's a blur, but I think my homecoming might have been even crazier than prom. But
that could be the sequel.
Yeah. No Mary Lou though. No Father Jonas. No glitter wearing ski masks. Killers. I don't know. It just makes prom seem a lot cooler, I guess. But yeah. I don't know. It's fun to think about though, and I kind of went back there a little bit in my memory watching these. It's not something you think about a lot, obviously, but. Yeah, it's kind of funny to put something that we all have as in our life experiences through this lens, and it's cool that there's a prom themed horror series. I like that a lot.
Yeah, all the kids that are not going to their prom, they could watch all 4 of these movies or 5 of these movies, and
4 is alright instead,
or just 4 or 3.
Yeah. They can watch one of these movies. Nah.
They can watch. Yeah.
Yeah. They're good. They're good.
Yeah. I want to have an imaginary prom with Jamie Lee Curtis and Wendy and Slick and Mary Lou. And I like even Josh in part 2. He was the one that was played by Brock Simpson in that one.
Oh yeah.
The nerdy character, yeah. So I could have it at a prom. I could imagine going to prom with that gang and then.
Sure. No, I could totally picture that. Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't want to talk about the remake too much, but. There's something about just having a guy in a baseball cap with a knife that's just, like almost offensive to me. Like I'm kind of thinking like, you know, we mentioned the Valley Girl, right? The remake.
Yeah.
I don't know what's worse. Like what I take more offense to. I guess it's.
I know they're both pretty bad.
Kind of like, and you know, obviously this all it all depends on how much you love an original. I guess is how you're gonna feel about a bad remake. You know, but it's just a shame that it didn't even need to be called Prom Night. So I don't know. But
yeah, it has nothing to do with the original film, of course, and they were just cashing in on a title. But I guess that's maybe what they were doing throughout all these movies. They were cashing in on the name.
In a way, it's kind of perfect that the remake even has nothing to do with the original. Like, it's kind of perfect. You're right. I think that's a great way to look at it.
You know, Jamie Lee Curtis is famously not a fan of Prom Night, but it's safe to say, had she had to sit down through all these movies, she might like Prom Night 1 the most. I don't know. It seems like that's the one she would gravitate towards. So, hi, I'm Jamie Lee Curtis, and I love Prom Night, and I love doing it. It was the best of my films, and I'm glad you loved that movie too. And I'll see you at the movies, and let's go watch Prom Night together. This is Jamie Lee Curtis signing off. Bye.
I thought I just paid for one of those like celebrity cameo things for a second. That was great.
Yes, totally. Make good choices. Or what does she say in Halloween? Do as I say.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's a couple times.
Yeah. Or is that the 2018 one? Gosh, I gotta watch that again.
Yeah, that was the original. I don't think I would go with the 2018. She might say it again. Actually, I think she reprises that in 2018.
I just pictured her. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's getting late, like we're saying. Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up. Prom Night. Thank you so much for supporting the show, guys. Thank you so much, Ara, for joining me on this Prom Night adventure. I'll see you for summer vacation soon.
Yeah,
and we'll see what we can break up for summer.
That was a lot of fun, buddy. Yeah, we'll do something else for sure.
All right, talk soon. Thank you guys again so much, and I hope your prom is as memorable as ours. Take care, guys. Ciao for now.
Imagine something deep inside that fear and logic cannot hide. The memory never leaves your mind. Your greatest enemy is time. It's been buried for so long. You must right that hateful wrong. Justice must be paid its due. Nature left it up to you. There never was a turning back. Now it's time to fade to black. Seasons pass, but time stands still. Rivers flow and always will. Nights are long and days endured. The pain inside must have a cure. And the reason for the call is the hardest part of all. The special night has set the stage to release the hateful rage. Never was
Hi, this is Jamie again. Please, please make good choices. The world is a crazy, crazy place. And watch Prom Night all the time. It's the best movie ever! Oh God, I love it.